happening inside.
If a standing recommendation without any new evidence is suddenly changed, the only thing that can really do is create confusion and sow doubt in the public.
Others here say they are afraid that politics is playing a role in the new vaccine policy. In Chamblee, Jonathan O'Brien, 95.5 WSB.
All right, it's going to be hot this afternoon. We're looking at a high of 90. What about rain? Will we get any this weekend? WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards will have Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast at 12:05. Police in South Fulton launching an investigation this afternoon after a baby is injured in a shooting.
The shooting happened at the Gardens at Camp Creek Apartments on Washington Road, not far off Interstate 285. The South Fulton Police Department's Tori Cooper tells WSB the 1-year-old boy was shot in the leg and taken to Children's Hospital for treatment.
The South Fulton Police Department secured the area and detained 2 individuals for further investigation.
No word on charges or what caused that shooting. Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB.
We have confirmed that a student brought a gun to a Cartersville elementary school this week. As soon as officials got word of the incident, Cartersville police were contacted and an immediate investigation got underway. Police say there is no indication, though, that there was any intent to do harm, but school officials say that they will follow established legal and disciplinary procedures in this matter. This is new here at noon. A 3-time convicted felon facing federal charges after purple fentanyl and weapons are seized at his home in Midtown Atlanta at a condo there. 32-year-old Dontrell Lamar Brown indicted on a number of drug-related charges, including conspiracy and possession with the intent to distribute fentanyl. Brown's girlfriend also facing charges for allegedly moving that fentanyl out of Brown's condo to hide it from authorities. Brown has 3 prior felony convictions in Gwinnett County. A jury has convicted a man for a long list of drug and weapons charges following a bust in Gwinnett County.
A 5-day federal trial ends with Ramiro Contreras Sandoval convicted on all charges, including possession of meth and distributing more than 135 kilos of the drug. He's also charged with possessing firearms as an illegal immigrant. The Department of Justice says Contreras Sandoval and another suspect first fled from a bust at an Atlanta area meth conversion lab back in 2019. He was arrested 2 years later when they found him at a second lab at a home in Norcross. His sentencing hearing is yet to be set. An accomplice was sentenced last year to 20 years in federal prison after pleading guilty. Judd Hickenbotham, 95.5 WSB.
New since Atlanta's morning news, the House passes a bill to avoid a partial government shutdown in a 217-212 vote. The House passed the 7-week continuing resolution that would keep the government funded through November 21st. It now goes to the Senate, where likely will not pass. The U.S. Postal Service getting a jump on the holiday season with a couple of announcements today.
USPS kicks off its Operation Santa campaign today, inviting kids and families here in Georgia and around the country to write and send letters to Santa Claus. The program connects letter writers with groups and individuals who help fulfill holiday wishes. Shipping deadline dates are also out today to make sure your packages reach their destinations before Christmas. You have until December 17th to get your Ground Advantage service and first-class mail out. The deadline's December 18th for Priority Mail and December 20th for Priority Mail Express. Cheryl Castro, 95.5 WSB.
If you're heading to lunch, let's get a check of the roads. For that, we turn now to Ashley Frasca in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
Looks like brand new trouble on the West Freeway. A crash. I'll uncover what lanes are blocked. I-20 eastbound right before I-285. Better news on 285 north. The crash clearing at Chamblee Tucker. Lanes are open and the crash now on the shoulder. 85 south before Pleasant Hill. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
It's time now for Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, sponsored here at noon by Shoemate, the official air conditioning of Atlanta. Here's WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards.
Sunshine today, a few clouds passing by, heating up to a high of 90 degrees. That's trending about 5 degrees above average for today. Lows tonight settling to the mid to upper 60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, an isolated pop-up shower can't be ruled out, but mainly dry, high 91. Sunday, partly cloudy skies, highs in the mid to upper 80s. Monday and Tuesday, partly cloudy with an isolated pop-up shower or thunderstorm, highs in the upper 80s. The next chance for measurable rainfall is not until the middle of next week.
And in Dunwoody, you have some sunshine, 82 degrees. Here in Midtown Atlanta, 83 degrees right now on Peachtree Street. We'll have more news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Okay, friends, it's the 5K a day bonus blitz. Your noon keyword is luck. L-U-C-K, luck. Enter the keyword luck into the WSB Radio app or at WSBradio.com/cash. You have until 12:30 p.m. to enter the keyword, win $1,000. The keyword is luck, L-U-C-K. Don't forget, if you get a phone call after 12:30 from a number you don't recognize, answer it. Could be us telling you you won $1,000. The keyword is luck. Good luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys boys and girls, welcome. It is Eric Erickson here this Open Line Friday, coming to you from WHIO in Dayton, Ohio. Surprise. See, I didn't tell any of you I was traveling here because I can't do an event. I've actually got an event. It's a private event I'm doing for a friend of mine, and so I came into the show, got to leave. Don't have time to see anyone, but I'll be back, I promise. The phone number, 877-973-7425. We got to begin with the breaking news. The President of the United States has announced he has struck a deal with China regarding TikTok. He says in a tweet, I just completed a very productive call with President Xi of China. We made progress on many important issues, including trade, fentanyl, the need to bring the war between Russia and Ukraine to an end, and the approval of the TikTok deal. I also agreed with President Xi that we would meet at the APEC summit in South Korea, that I would go to China in the early part of next year, and that President Xi would likewise come to the United States at an appropriate time. The call was a very good one, and we will be speaking again by phone. Appreciate the TikTok approval, and both look forward to meeting at APEC. There you have it. The President of the United States, the President of China meeting by phone. The TikTok deal is approved by the Chinese Communist Party, showing you just how invested in TikTok the Chinese Communists are as well. We do not know, this is something we do not know right now, whether or not the TikTok algorithm will remain in China. The Chinese have suggested that the algorithm will still have to be run through China. It will still be controlled by China. If so, that's kind of a bad deal. We will find out more details. I'll get into some more of this later because there's another story about China I want to get into. But first, really, got to talk about the Jimmy Kimmel situation. It continues to play out. I'm noticing there really isn't a push by progressives to call for restraints on the federal government. Have you noticed that? There aren't really any calls for constraint. I have a piece this morning. If you text the word data to 33777, you can follow the link. You can get a discounted subscription even if you want. You can see my morning piece on Kimmel. I think government interference in the private sector is bad. I know and I like Brendan Carr, the chairman of the FCC. I actually think he's a great guy and a great chairman of the FCC. I think he's done a very good job. I don't think he should have said what he said. I don't think he should have said what he said because I think what was going to happen anyway. And he's now provided in his actions a convenient distraction for progressives to say it was government interference. The reality is that Jimmy Kimmel's ratings have gone down 43% since January. The reality is that Jimmy Kimmel has worked to alienate half the country and use them as the butt of his jokes. The reality is, in fact, in the last year, Jimmy Kimmel has only had on 2 guests out of hundreds who could be classified as center-right. The reality is Jimmy Kimmel made it very clear he didn't care about half of the audience that watches ABC, and the response is 43% decline in ratings. The ratings were already not very good. And beyond that, Jimmy Kimmel catering to a coastal elite. We now know from reporting from The Hollywood Reporter and The Wall Street Journal separately that ABC executives approached Jimmy Kimmel, asked him how he intended to handle the fallout of his Monday remarks where he suggested that Tyler Robinson was part of MAGA. And Jimmy Kimmel said, according to sources to the Wall Street Journal and the Hollywood Reporter, he felt like he was attacked and he intended to double down. He was going to double down on what he said. And the ABC executives and Disney executives concluded he was actually going to make the situation even worse for them. Thereafter, advertisers began to express concerns. Even before the chairman of the FCC said anything, advertisers were expressing their concerns. You got that? Before Brendan Carr said a word, advertisers were already expressing concerns. After Brendan Carr spoke, Nexstar said they were going to stop carrying Jimmy Kimmel. The left says Nexstar has a deal before the FCC. They were trying to get in good with the FCC. There's actually no evidence of this, but the left believes it is so. And you know, if the left believes it is so, you're supposed to believe it, and it becomes the gospel truth, even though there's no evidence. After Nexstar spoke, Sinclair spoke. Sinclair owns more ABC affiliates than any other company. And it, too, said it would stop carrying Jimmy Kimmel's show. So, it doesn't really look like Brandon Carr had much to do with it. The advertiser spoke, then the networks, the affiliates spoke. Brandon Carr in between. The concern here and the problem is that I think that had Brendan Carr said nothing, the same thing would have happened. And by him speaking, it allowed the left to distract from the reality. The very people who cheered ABC when Roseanne Barr was taken off the air, the very same people who cheered Fox News booting Tucker Carlson, the very same people who have called for the end of cable companies carrying Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, and others, now they're screaming free speech. They don't believe in free speech. They just don't like it when it happens to them. They don't like it when they are the victims of a government power play. They believe that they can use the power. They don't like it against them. And the proof in the pudding is that they are not asking for the federal government to be restrained. There are no calls by the left today to curtail the powers of the FCC. They just don't like it used against them. Do you remember Mark Baisley Youssef? Does that name ring a bell to any of you? Mark Baisley Youssef. In July of 2012, Mark Baisley Youssef produced a video on YouTube called Innocence of Muslims. It was considered a slander of Islam. No one paid attention to it. On September 9th, 2012, Egyptian television ran 2 minutes of Innocence of Muslims, a 2-minute clip of an hour-long YouTube video. Within a day, riots began in Egypt and spread to Libya. The riots in Libya were used as cover for nefarious terrorists to go into the U.S. mission in Benghazi and kill the ambassador and multiple Americans. Barack Obama blamed Mark Baisley Youssef, the YouTuber. Barack Obama, the president of the United States, publicly blamed a YouTuber for starting the riots in the Middle East. And the Justice Department, Barack Obama's Justice Department, led by Eric Holder, arrested Baisley Youssef. They claimed he had violated probation. He had been arrested in the past. He was on probation. They claimed he violated probation. And they put him in jail. They didn't arrest him for probation violations for any reason other than Barack Obama singled him out as the cause of the riots in the Middle East. There's actually no dispute in the record that the Justice Department went after him for probation violations. It was very clear at the time, admitted on background by people at the Justice Department, that they were making an example of Mark Baisley Youssef. They could and they would make an example of a YouTuber for causing riots in the Middle East that led to the deaths of multiple Americans in Benghazi. At this point, what difference does it make? That's what Hillary Clinton said several months later at a hearing to Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin when he pointed out that the administration's blame of Mark Baisley Youssef for the riots had fallen apart and it wasn't true. She was answering a question related to that. What difference does it make? It makes a lot of difference. The President of the United States, a Democrat, threw a man in prison for exercising his free speech rights, blaming him for the deaths of Americans instead of the incompetence of the Obama administration and its Secretary of State, who would be running for president, who did not call up personnel rapidly enough to go save the Americans. If you don't like Donald Trump or Brendan Carr using the power Democrats have used in that power, Jimmy Kimmel's not in jail, unlike Mark Youssef. Jimmy Kimmel has not been rounded up by the government. None of these people have. Some of them have lost their jobs, and the left was fine with people losing their jobs, saying it's not cancel culture. It's not cancel culture, they told us. I want to play for you Brian Stelter, the talking head at CNN who covers the media. This is Brian Stelter a number of years ago, in 2021 to be precise, talking about the right being shut down on social media and the calls to silence hosts at Fox News.
And the polluters are trying to deflect blame. Dishonest cries of censorship are filling Fox's airwaves with charges that these guys right here are being suppressed. The word censorship's been invoked almost 400 times on Fox this month alone, and more than 300 times on Newsmax. You know, post-insurrection, a book publisher decided that it did not want to be in business with Senator Josh Hawley. So he's been on a national TV tour claiming he's muzzled. And Tucker Carlson is telling viewers that this network, CNN, is trying to force Fox News off the air, which is patently false. It's as predictable as the sunrise. Democrats win elections, and then Republicans say they are being silenced. But while some cry cancel culture, let me suggest a different way to think about this. A harm reduction model. Most people want clean air and blue skies, and accurate news and rational views. And then in that healthy environment that looks beautiful, then we can have great fights about taxes and regulation and healthcare and all the rest. The vast majority of people can agree that disinformation about, let's say, the pandemic is unhealthy. It's harmful. So how can that harm be reduced? Well, big tech platforms say they are removing lies about vaccines and stamping out Stop the Steal BS and QAnon cult content. Now, do these private companies have too much power? Sure. And many people would say yes, of course they do. But reducing a liar's reach is not the same as censoring freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is different than freedom of reach.
Freedom of speech is different from freedom of reach. That was Brian Stelter then. Brian Stelter now says Jimmy Kimmel's free speech rights have been impeded. No. He said that a private company can do that. Yesterday, I got an email from my corporation reminding all of the employees we have a social media policy. We can be disciplined, if not lose our jobs, for violating the social media policy. You probably have one at your company. Your employer, in many states, can fire you at will. Brendan Carr shouldn't have said what he said because it distracted from the advertisers and the affiliates being unhappy. It gives a convenient blame for Brendan Carr, targeting Brendan Carr. But also, it looks like it was going to happen anyway. And according to the Wall Street Journal and the Hollywood Reporter, despite what progressives would have you believe today, that it was the government, despite all of that, what the news reports make clear is that Jimmy Kimmel was going to escalate the situation. He was going to escalate it. And they decided it would be bad and would provoke more backlash, and they needed to take him off the air. And so they did. But because the left wants you to believe it was something else, that's what the media goes with.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Erick Erickson Show.
Looking at delays building on the West Freeway with a crash on I-20 eastbound at 285. The right lane reported blocked there. You'll roll into the slow traffic coming over from Thornton Road. Conditions downtown improved from an earlier crash. Connectors south around North Avenue. Big delays out in Marietta because of construction. The barrels are out in the right lane on 75 North up near Barrett Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Blindster.com. Blindster.com is a family business making custom blinds, shades, and shutters. Give them a try and see why over 1 million windows have trusted Blindster. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
Okay, friends, it's the 5K a day bonus blitz. Your new keyword is luck. L-U-C-K, luck. Enter the keyword luck into the WSB Radio app or at WSBradio.com/cash. You have until 12:30 p.m. to enter the keyword, win $1,000. The keyword is luck. L-U-C-K. Don't forget, if you get a phone call after 12:30 from a number you don't recognize, answer it. Could be us telling you you won $1,000. The keyword is luck. Good luck.
It's the Love Your Home Minute from TE Certified. Hi, it's Chris Chandler with Josh, the local owner of TE Certified Electrical Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You know, that's him you see jumping out of the back of their trucks. Josh, what should I be doing to love my home right now?
Seasonal HVAC maintenance.
About that time.
Absolutely. Our HVAC systems work hard for us all year round, and every once in a while we need to show them a little love too. So we need to come out, change your filters, clean the drain line, check all the electrical and gas connections, check the refrigerant, and make sure the settings are in tip-top shape for this season. This is going to make you more comfortable in your home. This is going to help you save energy, and of course it's going to keep you from having any of those bad breakdowns that happen at the worst time.
So it keeps you comfy for sure. What are some of the other benefits of the seasonal maintenance?
Well, absolutely, it's going to save money because an efficient system is going to use less energy as it runs.
All right, excellent, Josh. I am so glad I had TE maintain my system. It certainly helped me love my home.
TE certified, we love your home.
Did you know that warts are caused by a virus? Hi, it's Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. A customer at Bread Beckers shared her story of frustration. Her daughter had warts, over 500 of them. Her beautiful, healthy daughter could not get rid of warts despite trying doctors, burning, freezing, ointments, you name it. We taught this woman that every nutrient needed to protect ourselves from viruses can be found in whole grains and real bread. She bought everything needed from Bread Beckers to make her own real bread at home. With this one simple change, her daughter's warts were gone in just 2.5 weeks for good. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of whole grains and real bread. If you're struggling with warts, high cholesterol, bowel issues, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, take the first step to a healthier life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
This is Scott Slade, updating my health story. I get a checkup every year, and last September, my primary care physician was troubled by a suspicious number on my lab work. Well, that led to a diagnosis early enough to give me options, and I'm more optimistic than ever about a good outcome. Now, when we're talking about our health, level with your providers if you think you have a problem. We all need expert eyes looking us over every so often. That's where virtual imaging can be invaluable. Virtual Imaging's LDCT body scan can give you time and options for early treatment, especially for cancer. They can detect tumors as early as precancerous virtually anywhere in your body, and aneurysms you may not even know are there. For a limited time, Virtual Imaging is extending their core body scan offer for only $995 per scan. That's a $2,495 value. Early detection saves lives, and now it's more affordable than ever. Virtual Imaging has gotten such great response, they've opened up more times in both offices. But appointments will fill up fast for this offer, so don't wait. Some minimum requirements may apply. Early detection is your best protection. To schedule your virtual imaging $995 core body scan, call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com. That's virtualimagingatl.com. Do it now, while you still have options.
Another accident? What happened?
Our truck driver got cut off, and they're getting blamed. No witnesses, no proof.
and insurance is skyrocketing.
Wait, our drivers shouldn't take the blame for this?
Exactly why we need Samsara. Their AI dashcam show real-time video proving when our drivers aren't at fault.
So we protect our drivers and avoid false claims?
Yep, companies using Samsara have exonerated their drivers and saved millions on insurance.
Protect your drivers and your bottom line at Samsara.com. Samsara. Operate smarter.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Want to be on the show? Come on, be on the show. Call Eric now at 877-973-7425.
Greetings, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States. It's an open line Friday, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, very happy to have you. The House of Representatives has passed a measure honoring Charlie Kirk. It was a bipartisan vote. However, the far left progressives and the Congressional Black Caucus chose to either vote no or boycott the vote. But there were a number of Democrats who voted for the resolution as well, honoring his life and denouncing attacks on free speech in the United States of America. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, of course, called the vote very painful for millions of Americans. There is word she is looking at a 2028 presidential run as the far left leader of the progressives. It'll be interesting to see if she does that or runs for the United States Senate. There is some speculation she might run for the U.S. Senate. She's a very polarizing figure in the United States, but I will tell you, she's also very smart and can connect with young voters. You're dismissive of her because you don't like her, but I would be careful dismissing her. Now, I'm broadcasting from our affiliate, WHIO, in Dayton, Ohio today. See, I didn't tell anybody this. I got to tell you, though, I had a just heartbreaking moment where I'm flying up, doing an event in Columbus, so flew into Dayton, going to fly home from Columbus, and one of the people involved in the event suggested they could fly me up on their plane last night after my charity event in Atlanta, and I was so excited to do it and be spoiled, and then there was a mechanical malfunction with the plane, so I wound up going with Delta this morning. Boo. I was so excited. It didn't work out, but that's okay. Maybe one day. Now, I got to tell you about Swiss America. They would like to help you protect your hard-earned assets right now, and you can do that by calling them or texting them, or you can go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric today. They are the nation's trusted leader in precious metals, have been for 40 years, rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, and their report on the secret war on cash can just spend 15 minutes to read it. It can save on your retirement and finances. You get a free copy by calling or texting 800-289-2646. All you have to do is send them my name, Eric. If you call them at 800-289-2646, just say Eric Erickson sent me, or you can just text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. The all-out war on cash includes digital forms of currency. They're coming for your crypto, the feds are. Find out how you can protect your assets with this report, The Secret War on Cash, from Swiss America, completely free. Call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. You can also just go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric and put in your information, SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. Or just text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.
Get the WSB Radio app.
This story is breaking right now.
Get notifications from your source for news.
If you have the WSB Radio app, then you saw the breaking news.
Get the WSB Radio app.
Don't miss a thing with the WSB app.
Download it from the App Store today.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios. News.
Weather.
Traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. 24 former CDC employees rallying outside the agency's Chamblee campus to protest the changing vaccine recommendations during the ACIP meeting today. Katrina Kretzinger says that she's concerned about the changing recommendations and the impact on families.
Right now, what we desperately need is to protect our children and really have the ACIP and CDC come out as a strong voice in support of childhood vaccinations.
And others say they fear that politics is playing a role in the decision making. Now, the panel has taken up COVID vaccine now. Earlier this morning, they decided to table the hepatitis B vaccine changes, so recommendations will stay as they are. They did vote to split up the MMRV vaccine, meaning the chickenpox vaccine would be given separately from the measles, mumps, rubella shot. Some committee members had argued that there was a slightly higher risk of seizures with the combined shot. Your weather for today, partly cloudy and a little hotter, highs around 90, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. This news is sponsored by Jim Ellis Automotive. Prosecutors and defense attorneys fighting over video evidence at the trial of Julian Conley, the alleged gang member accused of murdering an 8-year-old girl who was a passenger in a Jeep. Jurors had to step out of the courtroom as the defense unsuccessfully tried to keep out a video Atlanta police say shows Conley was Sequoia Turner's killer in July of 2020. From Washington, the House passes a bill to avoid a partial government shutdown October 1st, but prospects in the Senate look dim. We, of course, will be watching. So who's cleaning your teeth? An Atlanta woman's indicted for practicing dentistry with a fake license. According to court documents, between November of 2021 and January of 2022, the woman used a fake dental hygienist license that appeared to be coming from the Georgia Board of Dentistry. It did not. A Douglas County grand jury now indicting Emily Rochelle Brannon on charges of forgery in the first-degree identity fraud and practicing dentistry without a license. It's 12:32.
Those wire shelves in your closet are just a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Dave Baker for Artisan Custom Closets. At Artisan, we see it all the time. The wire shelves come crashing down. Clothes, shoes, bags are everywhere. It's a disaster zone. Save yourself before this happens to you. With a custom, spacious closet from Artisan, you'll never have to look at that clutter again. Your shoes, bags, clothes, accessories, all neatly organized and designed to stay that way. ArtisanCustomClosets.com.
Hi, I'm Dallas, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. You know she loves her Shane Company engagement ring, but you also want to surprise her for her birthday, anniversary, or just because she deserves it. Why not get her a bigger diamond with our Easy Trade-Up program? We'll give you the full credit of your original natural diamond purchase toward a new one. Her new diamond only has to be $1 more. You only pay the difference. How's that for an easy trade-up? Visit us in-store or at shaneco.com. Because a friend wants you to win the gifting game. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
It's been a year since the last presidential election, and the economy has been on a roller coaster ever since. If you're in the home stretch, looking towards retirement, you may be feeling more anxious than ever about what the next few years could mean for your money. It's Eric Erickson here. If you're over 50 and have $500,000 or more saved for retirement, join me and fellow WSB radio show host, frequent guest on Fox Business with Stuart Varney and Charles Payne, David Nicholas of Nicholas Wealth Management, for a special live event Tuesday, October 7th at 6 p.m. at the Marietta Country Club. We'll break down what the post-election economy means for your retirement and the opportunities and risks that could impact you over the next year. Seating is very limited, so bring a spouse or a friend, enjoy food and drinks, and receive information that may help preserve your future. This is a registration-only event. Call 404-890-5606 or visit nicholaswealth.com to reserve your spot. Again, it's me, Eric Erickson, with David Nicholas, Tuesday, October 7th at 6 p.m. at Marietta Country Club. Don't miss it. Call 404-890-5606 or go to nicholaswealth.com. That's 404-890-5606 or nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and particular needs of any person who listens to the show. Eric Erickson is a current client and is paid for this ad.
All right, live team covers the traffic and weather. Here's Ashley Frasca.
Pretty slow traffic in from Lithia Springs because of a crash on I-20 eastbound right at 285, blocking the right lane. Construction delays all the way through Marietta into Kennesaw. Right lane knocked out 75 north at Barrett Parkway, and a new crash into downtown, 85 south before 17th Street. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Partly cloudy skies today. Temperatures trending about 5 degrees above average with a high near 90.
It is 83 degrees in Brazelton, 84 in Dallas. Peachtree Corners is 85. We'll have more news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Rick Erickson here across the nation. Open line Friday, 877-973-7425. There is breaking news. A federal judge in New York has thrown out the president's complaint against the New York Times, calling it basically garbage, telling his lawyers they have 28 days to attempt to rewrite the lawsuit and refile it, or they will be precluded from doing so. Yeah, so this is, I gotta say, there was never a reason for the president to file this suit. And you know what? It can cost him money, cost him legal fees and stuff, but it's kind of a objectively meritless lawsuit, and he's just been thrown out of court by a federal judge, and they're going to struggle to try to get an appeal on this one. It wasn't a meritorious law. He just didn't like what the New York Times was reporting. So he sued them, and it costs money. And I got to say, this is more effective against smaller entities that don't have deep pockets, because you can drive up their legal costs in such a way that you could potentially run them out of business if they don't comply with you. But the New York Times has real deep pockets, and they're going to double down and stand up. And I don't see how he wins this case. He's just kind of throwing money into the wind in these sorts of lawsuits. To the phones, Brian, you're going to be the first caller today. Welcome to the show, sir. How are you?
I am wonderful, thank you. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Excellent. I'm frustrated because I keep hearing from the conservative side saying that it's all the vitriol, the nasty words, everything that's all from the left, and tired of the both sidisms and all those arguments. When the reality is the conservative side is just as guilty of using inflammatory language, inappropriate language, as the left side has been. We've just not been so monstrous to take disgusting actions on those hateful words.
Listen, I know firsthand the effects of the language that Trump supporters and the president himself can use on people, having had people come to my house to threaten me. And I think that,
example.
Yeah, your example there at the end, though, is kind of the point here, is that people on the right have said terrible things, people on the left have said terrible things, but no one on the right has gone out and killed someone on the left for saying terrible things. And my concern, Brian, and I mean no disrespect here, is that the National Press Corps and the conversation in the media is always willing to talk about those bad things people on the right say. And I know that firsthand, too, because I have often been the guy on television to talk about those things, those inappropriate things that people on the right have said, including the president. But they never, ever, 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 ever want to have a conversation, a standalone conversation about the bad things people on the left say. It's why you can have Heather Cox Richardson, who is a Substack writer with over 1 million readers. By the way, she's got a bigger audience than CNN and MSNBC or Jimmy Kimmel. And she put out a piece over the weekend about how this guy, this shooter Robinson, probably was on the right. And Kimmel on Monday night suggests he was part of MAGA, echoing her words. He's probably a subscriber. His writers are subscribers. They live in an echo chamber. So yes, do people on the right say terrible things? Yes, they do. But we haven't gone out and gunned down people on the left and inspired people to gun people down with those words. But on the left, not only have they inspired people to go out and gun people down, but on the left as well, there's never accountability in the media. I gotta tell you, there are no clean hands in the conversation. But at the same time, if you listen to CNN or MSNBC or ABC or CBS or NBC or PBS or the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal or the Washington Post or the USA Today or the Los Angeles Times or the Miami Herald or the Chicago Tribune, you name the newspaper, you name the TV news outside of Fox and Newsmax, you would never know it was a both sides issue, because it's always the right. It's always the right. The left is pure as the driven snow in the National Press Corps. Do you know today, National Public Radio, for those of you who tune into NPR in the afternoon for news, they literally have a story up today on how we can't really tell whether Tyler Robinson was on the left or not. We can't really tell. Do you know why we can't tell if Tyler Robinson was actually a progressive? I quote National Public Radio. There is no evidence of his positions on other issues of importance to the left, such as immigration or labor. I'll read you the full paragraph so you don't think I'm taking them out of context. In fact, little is still known about Robinson's politics. According to the charging document, his mother told investigators he had become more, quote, pro-gay and trans rights oriented, end quote, within the last year. It also included a text message allegedly written by Robinson that said, quote, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA, end quote. But Robinson is not registered with a political party in Utah. There is no evidence of his position on other issues of importance to the left, such as immigration or labor. The actual headline of the piece, why did alleged assassin target Kirk? Evidence paints complicated picture. See, they can't accept that this guy's on the left. They've got to deny it. So do people on the right say mean things? Yeah, they sure do. They say mean things about me when they don't like me. I've been eviscerated by people, yesterday for saying if you go to a Bible-believing church, it's a conservative church, believes in the inerrancy of God, and your pastor didn't preach about Charlie Kirk on Sunday and you're mad about it, that's you sinning, turning politics into an idol. Don't be mad at your pastor. Suddenly you think he's woke. You've liked him all this time. He just didn't affirm what you wanted from the pulpit on Sunday. That's on you. I'm getting eviscerated online by progressives on the right for saying that, who've decided we got to bring politics in the pulpit. I acknowledge, I'm willing to acknowledge there are people on the right who have issues. But the media's not. The Democrats are not. Donald Trump, George W. Bush, John McCain, Mitt Romney, Sarah Palin, Paul Ryan, they can have controversial policies. No national media outlet ever called Barack Obama's policies controversial, even though they were. Barack Obama is coming out now to try to lecture us and do the both sidesism thing and saying, well, yeah, both sides do it, but the right's worse than us. That's kind of where his position is right now. No one on the left wants to hold Barack Obama accountable for his radicalism. No one wants to hold Barack Obama accountable for how he decided to pursue people. Barack Obama threw a YouTuber in jail blaming a YouTube video for riots in the Middle East. Barack Obama's IRS targeted conservative outlets to deny them tax-exempt status, Tea Party groups around the country. Barack Obama's IRS audited a number of conservatives, prominent conservatives, saying it was just a coincidence. Barack Obama's State Department initiated the disinformation coverage that was picked up with gusto by Joe Biden, the disinformation censorship. It was Barack Obama's administration that tried to orchestrate the Russia stole the election nonsense that we know isn't true. But the left believes it is because national outlets told him it was. Barack Obama sued nuns to try to force them to perform abortions, or to pay for abortions, rather. But you never hear these things about Barack Obama. Oh, it's the Republicans who say all this violent stuff. Barack Obama literally told a crowd, take guns to knife fights. Literally told Hispanic voters, Republicans are your enemies. Barack Obama said those things. If Donald Trump had told his supporters, remember, you got to take guns to knife fights, quoting the Untouchables movie, the media would be beside themselves. But Barack Obama said it was just a metaphor. He was quoting a movie. Barack Obama literally on video told people, get in your neighbors' faces and argue with them. That's what Barack Obama said. Barack Obama
told Hispanic voters Republicans were their enemies. And Barack Obama's Vice President Joe Biden told black voters Republicans wanted to put them back in chains. No lectures from the press about incendiary rhetoric. None of that. No lectures at all. Both sides do it, you know. What about Trump? But Trump, but Trump, but Trump. So yeah, both sides, Brian, nobody has clean hands. But you know what I find remarkable is the left really does have this view that they get to use the government against their enemies, and if the right does it, well, the right's not playing by their playbook. No. And you're not going to get the right to play by the playbook the right believes in as long as the left continues to use the government to punish its opponents. It's pretty straightforward. Buddy of mine listens out in Kansas City. Sent me a link from somebody on Facebook. Says, I want a government small enough that it doesn't matter what its leaders think about late night TV. Amen and amen. Wouldn't that be nice? A government small enough we don't have to care whether Donald Trump likes late night or not. A government small enough it can be drowned in a bathtub. A government big enough to give you everything you want is a government big enough to take it all away. And again, I would point out, I find it is very, very notable for all of the people who are really upset about Brandon Carr and the FCC on the left, for all of them screaming censorship, for all of them saying it was the government putting pressure on ABC, for all of them attacking Disney, for bowing to the Trump administration. There is not a single person on the left of any note that I have seen who says, hey, you know what, maybe we really should reduce the size and scope of the government. Maybe we really should take this power away from the federal government. They should. Now is the perfect opportunity. Now is the perfect opportunity for the left to join us in defanging the right. This is from the Wall Street Journal. U.S. Senator Ted Cruz says FCC Chairman Brendan Carr sounded more like an organized crime boss than a federal regulator when he threatened to revoke ABC's licenses over comments by late-night host Jimmy Kimmel. The Texas Republican emphasized how much he hates what Kimmel said about the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk and how much he likes and works closely with Carr. Having high-ranking federal officials threaten ABC in such a way, however, is quote-unquote dangerous as hell because it presents a slippery slope that could end with conservatives facing government censorship down the road, Cruz said. If the government gets in the business of saying, we don't like what you, the media, have said, we're going to ban you from the airwaves if we don't say what we like, that will end up bad for conservatives, Cruz said on his Friday podcast. He's right. But you know what? There are more Republicans calling out Brendan Carr than there have been Democrats calling out the IRS for targeting conservative groups, than calling out Barack Obama for arresting a YouTuber, calling out the Democrats for their demands to silence Fox News and conservatives they don't like. Listen, I agree it's a both sides issue. But you should agree with me that the right's not going to sit on its hands and do nothing when the left punches them in the face repeatedly. At some point, you provoke the right to punch back. At some point, you provoke the right to embrace the rules the left is using. And it doesn't matter whether you or I like it or not, you know it's going to happen. And the only way to de-escalate the situation is to take the power away so neither side can punch the other in the face. The only way to neutralize the situation is to reduce the power of the government to interfere in these private decisions. And there is literally not a soul on the left today calling for that. Only those of us on the right saying, you guys on the left should get on board with this. No one on the left is responding.
It's only going to escalate and get worse unless you find a way to de-escalate the situation. And the only way to de-escalate the situation is to take away the power of the government. And no one on the left wants to take away the power of the government, because the truth is that the left actually wants to use the power against the right. They just don't like it when that power is used against them.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1250 in the Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center, looking at delays stretching back to Lithia Springs because of a crash still on the West Freeway, I-20 East at 285. They're blocking the right lane. And into downtown Atlanta on 85 South, a crash near the Peachtree Street overpass at the ramp to 75 North. That has been cleared to the left shoulder. Traffic brought to you by Whole Foods Market, where you can save on fall favorites now through September 30th. Your headquarters for pumpkin spice delights, all the flavors of fall and more. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
It pays to have the WSB radio app. Download it today and get ready for the Blitz.
No way! The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz. 5 chances every weekday to win $1,000.
I just won $1,000 from WSB.
The WSB 5K a day bonus blitz.
Your next chance to win is at 2
I am
p.m.
so excited.
From 95.5 WSB.
Download the WSB radio app now.
I'm making fried shrimp tacos on the front porch for football Sunday night. I got them from Omaha Steaks. They have these fantastic Argentinian shrimp. They're like little baby lobsters, and they're a great deal. They arrive frozen. They're deveined. The tail's on, but the shell's removed. They're fantastic. You get them at omahasteaks.com. In fact, right now, I got them 50% off. Yeah, I ordered them myself. I even took advantage of my own promo code, ERIC, E-R-I-C-K. Got $35 off. Now, there's minimum order required. I loaded up my cart. Well, I got New York strips. I got chicken breast for my wife. I got the shrimp. I even got some caramel apple tartlets for my wife. It's fantastic stuff from Omaha Steaks. Red hot sales of it right now. Everything is 50% off site-wide. At checkout, you get an extra $35 off using my name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K, as your promo code at checkout. Go to omahasteaks.com today. Load up your cart at checkout. Use my name, Eric, as your promo code. Get an extra $35 off. Save and feed your family at omahasteaks.com.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading, seeing, and living through these days, from rate cuts, election season, and now a new administration, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place. You know, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? But I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in, we'll work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on portfolio x-ray, or click on full retirement plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. I want to play you this clip from Harry Inton on CNN. He is their data guru. This is the world we are living in, and it comes as the right finally has had enough of so much of the left, including the media.
Yeah, there are rare points in which I see a piece of data and it just sort of jumps off the screen at me, and this is one of them because I really just think it tells the entire story, and this is among Republicans. The media is biased and should be punished. Look at this. 71% of Republicans agree with the idea that the media is biased and should be punished. Republicans are absolutely loving what is happening right now to Jimmy Kimmel, absolutely love the words that are coming out of Brendan Carr's mouth. The bottom line is that they believe that the media is biased and should be punished, so taking Jimmy Kimmel off the air, if there's government influence there, they're absolutely enjoying it.
Well, but punished by whom, I guess, is the question. How are Republicans, and how much are Republicans, as you're pointing out here, likely to, or what are they going to think about that this decision was made with government influence?
Yes, exactly right. So, it's one thing if the idea is, okay, Jimmy Kimmel's being punished by his own company, right? Being punished by ABC, being punished by Disney. But the idea that the government is influencing it, I don't think that Republicans are going to have much of a problem with it, because take a look here. Republicans already think that the U.S. media and U.S. news organizations are in fact influenced by government interests. Look at this, again amongst Republicans, look at this, 64%, this is again, even before the Kimmel news broke, 64% of Republicans believe that the U.S. media is influenced by government interests a great deal. We're talking 2/3 of Republicans. And then you get another 26% who say are somewhat influenced by government interests. That totals up to nearly 90%, when of course you're not just rounding, as if you would, you'd be 90%, but we're talking about 89% of the public, of Republicans, who say that the U.S. media is influenced by government interests. So no, Republicans, A, they like the idea that Jimmy Kimmel's being punished, and B, they're not at all going to be against the idea that the government might be influencing it, because they already think, 2/3 already think that the government is influencing U.S. media organizations a great deal in this.
And if you don't think that's the case, you didn't pay attention to how Joe Biden and the media treated conservatives during COVID. Now, let me tell you about Vision Computers. 404 Computers, the phone number. Any of you nationwide, from Alaska and Hawaii all the way to Maine and Miami, you can call them at 404 Compute and let them build you a computer, upgrade your computer, help you with the upgrades from Windows 10 to Windows 11, or be managed IT for yourself, for your home, for your kids at college, for your gig economy laptop, for your company. They can take care of you. In fact, you get a special number you call, and in 15 seconds or less, whenever you have a problem, someone answers the phone day or night. They keep you active, engaged, and online better than anybody else. No IT claims tickets. You get that special phone number you call, and they're always there to answer the phone. You talk to an actual human being. 404 Computers, the phone number, or you go to visioncomputers.com. Let Vision Computer help you build a computer, upgrade a computer, manage your IT, keep you online, keep you going. 404 Compute. Call them and tell them Eric sent you. You might be able to save even more money.
In Atlanta, there is always something happening.
Tanker truck crashed into the median.
The Triple Team Traffic Center has you covered.
No traffic getting through in either direction.
Helping you on your commute.
Avoid the area at all costs. Take Highway 155 or Highway 4223.
Brought to you by the Cool Ray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up, like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind. Ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
news,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news is sponsored by Findlay Roofing. As the panel that makes vaccination recommendations is meeting here in Atlanta, outside that meeting, former CDC employees holding a rally at the agency's Chamblee campus.
With some dressed up as viruses like mumps and measles, about 24 former CDC employees say they are concerned about the changes being made to vaccine policy by the committee.
We're out here because we believe deeply in trying to protect the health of Americans and people in the world.
Dr. Barbara Marston says,
We're worried that those processes which have been trusted and effective for years are being disrupted in ways that will end up hurting Americans' health.
Others here say they are afraid that politics is playing a role in the new vaccine policy. In Chamblee, Jonathan O'Brien, 95.5 WSB.
Thank you, Jonathan. That panel right now is discussing the COVID vaccine. They should make recommendations by the end of the day. Check back. We'll let you know what they say. Your weather for today, partly cloudy, a little hotter. Afternoon highs around 90, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. She'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. A behind-the-scenes fight at the murder trial of alleged gang member Julian Conley. Lawyers tussle over video, which prosecutors contend shows the defendant shot Sequoia Turner.
Julian Conley's defense putting up a hard fight to exclude testimony from Atlanta Police Detective Jerian Shepard and video compiled from different sources, which Shepard says identifies Sequoia Turner's killer. But the defense says this is too one-sided for jurors to hear and see.
You didn't circle every single person that fired at the Jeep, did you? No, the person that fired at the Jeep was Julian Conley.
Fulton County Superior Court Judge Rochelle Carnesale rules the state can use the video, but Shepard cannot ID Conley by name in blurrier sections of it. Veronica Waters, 95.5 WSB.
Police are investigating after a student is caught with a gun at Cartersville Elementary School this week. There's no indication there was any intent to do harm, but school officials say that they're going to follow the established legal and disciplinary procedures with this matter. It is not clear at this point if the student will face any major charges in this incident. All right, how about a little music today? A new study finds the power of music can actually help in the healing process. Mexican scientists note that playing 45 minutes each day, some soft music, can speed up the recovery time for critically sick patients. They say that music can reduce high blood pressure, lower heart rate for cardiac patients compared to those who remain in silence in the intensive care unit. One expert calls music therapy a safe and low-cost supplement to help in the healing process. It's 102.
By executive order from Rufus, the Findlay Roofing chief barking officer, they're rolling rolling out a $1,000 discount on your Findlay roof replacement. Hey, it's Dave Baker. For the only roofer I answer the door for, Findlay Roofing, the roof guys. Stop repairing the leaks and dragging your feet. Now is the best time to replace that old, leaky, haunted roof and save 1,000 bones. Findlay has replaced over 65,000 roofs locally. That's no trick. It's just high-quality work, upfront pricing, and exceptional service. Findlay goes the distance. They're the extra effort experts, making sure you have a remarkable roof replacement experience. Findlay also has 0% financing available, and for a limited time, you can save $1,000 on your roof replacement. Hurry! You need to shake on this deal by Halloween. Schedule your free roof analysis at FindlayRoofing.com.
If you've been taught that all bread is unhealthy, I'm here to tell you not if it's real bread. Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. If you're struggling with weight gain, high cholesterol, constipation, even warts, or kids who seem to be constantly sick, come visit us at the Bread Becker store in Woodstock, where we have taught thousands of customers that real bread might be their healthy solution. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've studied the incredible health benefits of real whole grains and bread. I discovered that store-bought bread has had most of the nutrients in the grain removed during milling, and yes, even packages labeled 100% whole wheat. Make a healthy eating change in your life at Bread Beckers in Woodstock. We'll show you how bread, but only real bread, might be the answer to your family's physical ills. The Bread Beckers. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Baseball is all about stepping up to the plate when it matters most. And when you've been injured, you need a heavy hitter in your corner. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
If critters are creeping in your attic, better call Breda to kick those critters out. With the Breda Wildlife Guarantee, if they return, you're covered at no additional cost.
Breda, no need to be afraid.
Raider Buzz.
It's 1:05. Time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Ashley Frasca in the WSB 24-hour traffic center.
Delays around town continue. The latest with a crash 285 southbound at Highway 78. 2 left lanes knocked out, so quickly stacking those delays. And the brake lights back at Chamblee. Tucker slow into downtown. A crash clearing on the shoulder. 85 south at the ramp to 75 north in Brookwood. And slow on the West Freeway. Crash in the right lane. 20 east at 285. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy skies through this afternoon, trending about 5 degrees above average with a high near 90. Lows tonight in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with an isolated pop-up storm, high 91. Sunday, partly cloudy, high 88.
83 degrees right now in Winder. Canton has 87 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Here in Midtown Atlanta, a mix of clouds and sun, and 85 degrees. We'll have more news at 1:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
We have a liftoff.
Hello, America. It's Eric Erickson broadcasting it from Ohio. I've only been up here once before for the Republican convention back in, 2016? Otherwise, have not been. I don't have time to stick around today, though, but I promise I will be back for those of you listening on WHIO. Excited to get back here to Dayton. A beautiful downtown, the Miami River going through downtown. The Dayton Art Institute drove past on the way from the airport. Gorgeous building there. Really neat. I want to go down and have ice cream at that dairy place down by Springfield and check on the Haitians, but don't have time today. Got to drive over to Columbus as soon as I'm done and have a private event. See, I'm not telling you where I'm going or anything like that. I'm trying to do better. Before I take phone calls this hour, and it is an open line Friday, 877-973-7425. But before I do any of that, I actually want to have a real discussion with you on free speech. The New York Times editorial gives rise to this because it really is, for lawyers, you should understand. It's a pet peeve. Now, I'm actually going to give my credentials here because I encountered someone the other night online who had no idea. I was a lawyer for 6 years. I didn't really like practicing law. If I could have just practiced in the areas in which I liked, I'd probably still be a lawyer. Mostly businesses, helping businesses. And some of the businesses I helped were radio, television, newspaper, and colleges. First Amendment law. So one of the things I did was not my major practice, but I did it at the local level in particular. If the local newspaper, TV station were sued for something that happened, I was one of the lawyers that dealt with it. I am very familiar with First Amendment law. So I want to read you part of this editorial at the New York Times, just the opening paragraph. This is the editorial board. A founding principle of the United States enshrined in the Constitution's opening amendment is that our republic depends on citizens' freedom to disagree with one another. They need to be able to do so intensely on matters of life and death, including war and divisive modern issues like abortion, gun safety, and health insurance. There are limits to free speech, yes, but they involve edge cases like shouting fire in a theater or inciting an imminent act of violence. If the American ideal of freedom means anything, it is that Americans can engage in an extremely wide range of political speech, including the tasteless and the offensive. There are limits to free speech, yes, but they involve edge cases like shouting fire in a theater. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here as someone who practiced in the area of First Amendment law to tell you that if you hear anyone say you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, that person is an idiot who does not know what they are talking about. Because that has never actually been the law of the land in the United States. Oddly enough, The phrase yelling fire in a crowded theater does not even come from a case about someone yelling fire in a crowded theater. It doesn't come from really a major case about major words spoken to incite anything. It comes from the case of United States versus Schenck from the early 1900s. Charles Schenck and Elizabeth Baer were socialists, and they opposed participation in World War I. Congress passed the Espionage Act of 1917, and the law prohibited things like stealing documents related to national security. Think about that. Until the Espionage Act of 1917, we really didn't have a clear law on the books that it was against the law to steal national security and give it to the nation's enemies. That was part of the Espionage Act. But also included was speaking out against military recruiting efforts. In 1917, Woodrow Wilson imposed a draft for World War I, and Schenck and Baer opposed it. They claimed it violated the 13th Amendment, involuntary servitude. The Socialist Party headquarters were raided, and they were charged with violating the Espionage Act, and the Supreme Court unanimously upheld their conviction. Sure did. The Supreme Court of the United States upheld the conviction, ruling that the free speech clause of the First Amendment does not shield advocacy urging conduct deemed unlawful under the Espionage Act. The opinion was written by Oliver Wendell Holmes. Oliver Wendell Holmes used the phrase comparing the leaflets urging people to avoid the draft to yelling fire in a crowded theater. Now, interestingly enough, Holmes would go on to dissent from individuals, from the convictions of individuals under the Espionage Act, Abrams versus United States. And in that case, people were circulating pamphlets criticizing U.S. involvement in the First World War. And it was in that case that Oliver Wendell Holmes filed a dissent that over time became the prevailing opinion on the United States Supreme Court. In that case, he suggested that a wise ordering of society and government actions are better reached by free trade in ideas, that the best test of truth is the power of the thought to get itself accepted in the competition of the market, and that truth is the only ground upon which their wise wishes safely can be carried out. That, at any rate, is the theory of our Constitution. That's his quote. And then, joined by one other justice on the Supreme Court, Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote this: I think that we should be eternally vigilant against attempts to check the expression of opinions that we loathe and believe to be fraught with death, unless they are so imminently threaten immediate interference with the lawful and pressing purposes of the law that an immediate check is required to save the country. In short, unless unpopular speech fits the crying fire in a crowded theater analogy, it ought to be protected. That's what he said in his dissent. Interestingly enough, the Supreme Court overruled all of that over time. And yelling fire in a crowded theater is perfectly permissible. However, there's a catch. If you cause a riot when you yell fire in the crowded theater, you can be liable. If you knowingly intended to provoke a riot, you can be liable. But if you stand up in a crowded theater and you yell fire, fire, and people tell you to shut up and sit down and continue watching the movie, you can't be arrested and prosecuted by the government for yelling fire in the crowded theater. The rule actually has been worked to incitement to imminent lawless action. Incitement to imminent lawless action. That's the boundary for free speech in the United States of America. You are free to stand up and say whatever you want. But if in the heat of passion, you provoke that passion through your words to incite unlawful action, then you can be prosecuted. So, an example off the top of my head. You decide when you see people at a sports match and they have gotten heated and two guys are in each other's face yelling about their teams, and you provoke them to fight, you can be prosecuted. You've incited imminent lawless action. But if they don't fight, you can't be prosecuted for it. If you stand in the town square and you utter lies about your neighbor, if you stand up and you say, my neighbor Joe, I saw him last night committing bestiality in his backyard with his cow. He keeps his children locked in the basement and he abuses them. I know that he beats his wife regularly. And he invites over the neighbor's wife to have an affair, and they have an OnlyFans account where they produce pornography. I have seen it with my own eyes. Joe has done these things. And it's all made up. You know what? The government cannot prosecute you. Your neighbor Joe can sue you for your last penny. He can take your home and your property. He can take all the money out of your bank account. You can be sued by Joe for defamation because you've lied about him. If you accuse your neighbor of having committed a crime, your neighbor can sue you and will win. If your neighbor is famous and you say a bunch of untrue things about your neighbor, by and large has no basis to sue you. But if you accuse your famous neighbor of a crime and say you saw him commit a crime, your neighbor can sue you, even if your neighbor's famous. If you accuse a famous person of committing a felony, that famous person can sue you. If you accuse your famous neighbor of something that is clearly just your opinion, your famous neighbor can't harm you, can't sue you. If your unfamous neighbor can, if you do the same thing to your unfamous neighbor. But if it's a prominent personality, the bar is higher. But it's a lawsuit. It's not a prosecution. The government generally cannot prosecute you in this country for your speech unless your speech is designed to incite imminent lawless action. Only then. You are perfectly allowed to yell fire within a crowded theater, and you better pray that no one runs, because if you provoke a panic, you can be prosecuted for provoking that panic. But it's not about your speech. It's about you knowing there's a high potential of causing a panic that causes injury. It's not about your speech in that case. You can stand on the town square corner. You can say whatever you want to say. But here's the thing as well. The First Amendment protects you from the government. The First Amendment protects you from the government. It doesn't protect Jimmy Kimmel from being fired by ABC, or suspended, rather. It doesn't protect Jimmy Kimmel from having advertisers say they're going to yank their advertising. It doesn't protect Jimmy Kimmel from affiliates saying, we don't want to continue airing the guy. It doesn't protect you from your employer when you get on social media and say Charlie Kirk got what he deserved. Your employer has the right to fire you because your employer has standards they expect employees to meet so that you do not reflect poorly on the company and drag the company into controversy with your words. But that is not a First Amendment issue. That is an employment issue. It is separate from the First Amendment. Your words can have consequence to your job and livelihood, and it's not a First Amendment issue. The First Amendment is only about the United States government. And to the extent that the government is jawboning, that is, inserting themselves into the private affairs of a corporation, yes, you have action against the government. Is Jimmy Kimmel going to have action against Brendan Carr for jawboning, for pressuring ABC to take action? Probably not, because I guarantee you Nexstar and Sinclair will say they were already headed in this direction before Brendan Carr spoke. And if that's the case, he has no claim against Brendan Carr and the FCC for pressuring a private company to take action. And I guarantee you Nexstar and Sinclair will say that. If you hear the editorialists at the New York Times say you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, the Supreme Court has never actually decided that's the law. And in the last 60 years, they've made very clear that's not the law. But what free speech does say, and what the First Amendment means, is that you're protected from government prosecution from your words, but that has nothing to do with what your company does to you. It's only about you and the government, not you and the private sector.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
121 in the Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center delays out of Douglas County remain because of a crash still in the right lane. I-20 east at 285 has you on the brakes back at Thornton Road. A slow crawl between Marietta and Kennesaw. Construction in the right lane again today. 75 north at Barrett Parkway. You see the brake lights beginning back at Delk. Traffic brought to you by Georgia United Credit Union. Dreaming of a home upgrade? A home equity line of credit from Georgia United can make it happen. Visit dreams.gucu.org today. Georgia United is an equal housing lender. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
If it's happening on the streets of Atlanta,
the Cobb County Medical Examiner's Office identifies 57 sets of cremains.
if it's happening on the roads leading to Atlanta,
Massive project at 285 and Georgia 400 has been a big improvement.
we've got it covered.
Atlanta jurors convict a former Customs and Border Protection officer.
Your 24/7 news source.
Covering the stories that impact you.
Tune in throughout the day to stay up to date.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
It's happening, guys. Your hair's thinning, the crown's disappearing. Hair loss might have you feeling you've lost your identity. It's Mark Arum here. Thankfully, there's Advanced Hair Simple One-Day Treatment. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. I've seen Advanced Hair's incredible results with my own eyes. Get your free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 470-660-HAIR or advancedhair.com.
I'm Brian Parks, head of commercial banking in Atlanta for Ameris Bank. I've been in banking for over 30 years, and my team and I know that businesses have the best results when they work with local bankers who know the Atlanta market. Bankers who will work to understand your business operations and bring good ideas to the table. At Ameris Bank, we do that. I invite you to reach out so we can start a conversation. Visit amerisbank.com/yourbusiness or a local branch near you. Ameris Bank, fiercely yours, member FDIC.
The purpose, passion, and pleasure of This Stuff Matters is helping as many people as we can. Today, I want to ask you to help me help people. Will you go to our website, thisstuffmatters.net, click the Connect With Us tab, and then give us your thoughts, suggestions, and questions. What matters most in life to you? And how do you think we can be most helpful? Thanks for helping us help others make the most out of what matters most. This is Tom Gray, and This Stuff Matters.
thisstuffmatters.net.
Hi, I'm Dustin, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As director of diamond sourcing, it's my job to make sure every single diamond is worthy of a Shane Company engagement ring. Our team travels the world to see diamonds in person and handpick each one. That type of dedication only comes from working for a company that's been a family business since 1929. No matter your budget, your diamond is guaranteed to be the most beautiful because a friend wants you to pick from only the best. Drop by your store or shaneco.com and see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Whether it's a slip that ends in a slip disc, a trick knee that's holding you back, or shoulder pain hurting your game, you can count on Northside Hospital Orthopedics. With leading care in Georgia at convenient locations all across the state, we're here to get you back on your feet, no matter what comes your way. Because Georgia moves us, and we keep Georgia moving. Find a provider near you at northside.com/ortho. That's northside.com/ORTHO.
If you've ever organized your closet only to have it look like a bomb went off in there 1 month later, then it's time to call Artisan Custom Closets. Reach-in closets, walk-in closets, pantry spaces, garages. With a custom spacious closet from Artisan, you'll never have to deal with all that clutter again. All your stuff neatly organized and designed to stay that way. Call the Closet Bomb Squad, Artisan Custom Closets. They'll diffuse your clutter and make it safe to enter your closet again. ArtisanCustomClosets.com.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. We're dedicated to serving people 50 and up, like me. Our needs are different. Big Wireless wants us in an unlimited plan, but if you're not using all that data, you're probably getting used. At Consumer Cellular, we're focused on affordable, reliable plans, including data that suits your needs, not ours. Our plans start at just $20, and you'll get the best customer service in the business.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com/facts. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. On the go, take Eric's podcast with you. Available wherever you stream your favorite podcast. Search Eric Erickson.
Greetings, it's me, it's Eric, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, happy to have you. It's an open line Friday. We got phones in queue. We've got callers in queue, I guess I should say, although this is a short segment since I spent so much time explaining the First Amendment to everybody. Now you're smarter, though, aren't you? You will never again say you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You'll look judgmentally at those who do. When we come back, I will take your phone calls. I promise. Out of the gate, I'll take your phone calls. Also, I have agreed to be, speaking of callers, to be on C-SPAN on Sunday morning at 8 a.m. dealing with C-SPAN callers. My longtime friend, Sam Feist, who used to be my boss at CNN, is now the president of C-SPAN and has asked me a couple of times now to do that in the mornings on Sunday. I got to get up for church anyway, so figure it'll guarantee I get to church by going on in C-SPAN and hanging out with the host, talking about the Jimmy Kimmel thing in particular, Charlie Kirk as well, and then some of the president's foreign policy issues we'll be talking about Sunday morning. So if you happen to be up and want to turn on C-SPAN, 8 a.m. Eastern Time, I will be there with the insane C-SPAN callers. They are notorious, the C-SPAN callers, because they're not actually vetted. You basically get on and you call a line, a Democrat line, a Republican line, an independent line, and they queue you up, and off you go. And call screening at C-SPAN is the most insane job on planet Earth. All right, let me tell you about Old Glory Bank, because Old Glory Bank would love to be your bank. They're my bank. OldGloryBank.com/Eric is where you can go to get an account. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Old Glory Bank was started by conservatives. It is a bank for conservatives and everyone else who loves the free market, who is worried about debanking trends. You'll get protected by Old Glory Bank. All you do is go to OldGloryBank.com/Eric. You get your account. If you're a veteran, they've got great deals for you, including no fees for their premium accounts. Businesses get great business checking accounts. They're very hands-on with businesses. You can do mortgages, you can do CDs, you can do car loans, you can do so much at oldglorybank.com/Eric. oldglorybank.com/ERICK. Just go find out about them from them at oldglorybank.com/Eric. They are committed to small businesses and freedom. They would rather your rights be protected than their interest. They're just a great bank. I've enjoyed using them. I've got a no-fee checking and a no-fee savings account. You can too. You can also get that business account. oldglorybank.com/Eric. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply.
WSB is looking for a home for Buddy. Chris Chandler here from Atlanta's Morning News, and Buddy's our dog of the month with Paws Atlanta. About a year-old, 40-pound mix, great starter dog for a family. Meet him at WSBRadio.com/dog. Our sponsor, Finley Roofing, will pay the adoption fees for you. WSBRadio.com/dog.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. This news is sponsored by Ben Hill Renovation. This just in. The Senate has just rejected Republican and Democrat stopgap measures to fund government. This does increase the risk of a shutdown come October 1st. Leaders of the two parties sought to blame the other side for the standoff. Democrats accusing Republicans of not negotiating with them to address some of their priorities on the health care issue as part of the funding measure. Republicans said Democrats were making demands that would dramatically increase spending. All right, your weather for today. Partly cloudy. It's going to be a little hotter. Highs around 90, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Prosecutors and defense attorneys fighting over video evidence today at the trial of Julian Conley. He's the alleged gang member accused of murdering an 8-year-old girl who was a passenger in a Jeep. Jurors had to step out of the courtroom as the defense unsuccessfully tried to keep out a video that Atlanta police says shows Conley was Sequoia Turner's killer in July of 2020. A 3-time convicted felon facing federal charges after purple fentanyl and weapons are seized at his Midtown Atlanta condominium. 32-year-old Dontrell Lamar Brown is indicted on a number of drug-related charges, including conspiracy and possession with the intent to distribute fentanyl. Now, Brown's girlfriend also facing charges for allegedly moving the fentanyl out of Brown's condominium to hide it from authorities. Brown has 3 prior felony convictions in Gwinnett County. Who's cleaning your teeth? Might be good to know. An Atlanta woman indicted for practicing dentistry without a license. According to court documents, between November of 2021 and January of 2022, the woman used a fake dental hygienist license that appeared to be from the Georgia Board of Dentistry. It was not. A Douglas County grand jury has now indicted Emily Rochelle Brannon on charges of forgery in the first degree, identity fraud, and practicing dentistry without a license. And 24 former CDC employees rallying outside the agency's Chamblee campus today to protest the changing vaccine recommendations during the ACIP meeting today. Katrina Pressinger saying that she's concerned about the changes to recommendations and the impact on families.
Right now, what we desperately need is to protect our children and really have the ACIP and CDC come out as a strong voice in support of childhood vaccinations.
Others say they fear that politics is playing a role in the decision-making. It's 1:32.
This is Scott Slade with how a short phone call can change your life for the better. Take a few minutes and call MyLend and see if there's a way to put money in your pocket every month. There's so many options with MyLend. Here's an example. One of my friends at MyLend is looking at a reverse mortgage for his mom, who's 82. She's currently in a house that's paid for and too much to take care of by herself. So they're considering a reverse mortgage by selling her current house, then buying a smaller one by only putting 50% down and then putting the other 50% in her bank account, essentially trading homes and putting a couple of $100,000 in her pocket. If you or your parents have a similar situation, call MyLend, where the guys and gals there will put together a plan that's just right for you with no obligation. Call 770-817-2000. That's 770-817-2000. Online, it's mylend.com. Spell it M-I-L-E-N-D. NMLS and Georgia Residential Mortgage License C148769, located at 8995 West Side Parkway, Alpharetta, Georgia 30009. MyLend is an equal housing lender. Scott Slade here to talk to you about your health, and I think it's real important to talk about what is most likely to kill you. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans, and the older we get, the more prevalent it is. But you can reduce your risk. Eat right, don't smoke, exercise, and be informed about what's going on in your own body. Like lots of potentially serious health problems, if you catch heart disease early, you vastly increase your chances of living a longer life. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. Virtual imaging scans take less than 10 minutes and screen with 98% accuracy for heart disease. Other scans, including brain and full body, are available too. Virtual imaging is locally owned and operated in Atlanta for over 15 years, so they can make you this terrific offer. A complimentary heart scan for you and your spouse with a few minimum requirements. So don't put this off. I've done it. Call Virtual Imaging today for your free heart scan. 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-7226. Or visit their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
Hey, it's your buddy Shelley Winter here, co-host of The Car Guys with my good friend and brother Kevin Deutsch from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Whatever you want to know about buying, selling, leasing, or maintaining a vehicle, Kevin has your answers.
That's right, Shelley. For over 40 years, I've sold, leased, fixed, and financed pretty much every make and model. I've seen it all. If you have any car questions, we'll have the answers every Saturday at noon.
It's The Car Guys, Saturdays at noon on 95.5 WSB. Brought to you by Butler Lexus of South Atlanta.
All right, live team coverage of traffic and weather is Ashley Frasca.
Delays remain out at Lithia Springs. A crash 20 eastbound at the beginning of the ramp to I-285 on the west side, and now picking up new trouble on 285 south at Chamblee-Tucker. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Partly cloudy skies today. Temperatures trending about 5 degrees above average with a high near 90.
More news at 2 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. 95.5 WSB.
Hello, my friends. It is Eric Erickson here as promised. It's an Open Line Friday. Time to go talk to some of you around the country. 877-973-7425. Although, to be fair, I've talked so long, a whole lot of people hung up. But Adam has not hung up, waiting patiently for me. How are you, sir? How are you?
Good. How's it going, Eric?
Great.
Hey,
What's going on?
With the news of the Russian MiGs violating Estonian airspace, I want to get your thoughts on whether you think this is part of a larger plan between the Russian and the Chinese to basically wait out Trump's administration and maybe see if they could take Taiwan after he leaves office. I think it's one of my bigger complaints. I feel like Trump's a little bit naive on this whole issue.
You know, he does not want war. Trump doesn't. He is his first term. He's very proud of the fact that he never sent troops off to war. And I do think he thought, with the force of his personality, he could convince Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping to stand down from Ukraine, from Taiwan, and they're not willing to because they've started collaborating more and more together. I actually, you talk to members of the military, they feel very certain that by 2027, that's the date they all cite for the invasion of Taiwan, that it's going to take the Chinese that long. The Chinese themselves have suggested by 27 they'll take action. I think Putin himself is trying to test how far he can push Trump before Trump takes some actions. The entire Russian economy right now, I don't know that people realize this, has been geared towards war now. It would actually be more economically costly at this moment. Key phrase there, at this moment, it would be economically more costly for the Russians to stop their war than it would to prolong the war, because their entire economy now is on a war footing. So where does that actually go? Well, the way to make it more costly for Russia to prolong the war than stop it is to get the European Union, as Trump is trying to do, to stop buying Russian oil and gas. It is an absurd statistic, but it's true, that the European Union buys more oil from Russia than they give money to Ukraine for weapons. They are funding the Russian war effort, and they can't stop. They're addicted to it. This provocation, for those of you who haven't heard, the Russians flew fighter jets very close to the one of the Baltic capitals today. I think Estonia. You've got 3: Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And they are very pro-free market. They are very pro-West. They are very big fans of the United States. And the Russians continue this provocation. They're poking at the fence like the velociraptors did in Jurassic Park. They're poking at the fence to see if there's electricity still on. They're trying to see what are the NATO defenses and how does NATO respond to these things. NATO has now shot down a couple of drones that have drifted into Polish airspace, among other things. We are watching the Russians, the Chinese, the Iranians, and the North Koreans build a new Eastern Axis. They are beginning to collaborate together more and more, and they become more dangerous as they collaborate. I've said this before. It is worth saying again. I talked to a former general in the Marine Corps who was very high up, who pays attention to this at a national security level, and he pointed out that one of the hardest things to do among new allies is learn how to learn from each other. One of the reasons the Russians, the Chinese, the North Koreans, and the Iranians have been somewhat dysfunctional together is because they didn't know how to learn from each other. They're beginning to learn how to learn from each other. The Russians are now teaching the Chinese Russian submarine tactics to combat the Americans. The North Koreans are teaching the Iranians how to build high-tech drones. The Iranians are teaching the Chinese and the Russians subversive skills in the Middle East. The Chinese are providing technology. The Russians are providing oil. They're beginning to collaborate with each other as an alliance of a kind. And that's dangerous for us. And I do think that President Trump has thought that through the force of personality, he can bring the Russians out of that. In fact, there is prominent thinking among some of the people around Donald Trump that the Russians really don't like the Chinese, so maybe they can be brought to the West. I will tell you, it's one of the things that I, for the longest time, believed, and I've changed my mind on. See, for a very long time, there were a lot of us on the right and on the left who believed that the Russians, the Soviet Union gone, the Russians could actually, historically, the bulk of the population is European, not Asian. Asia's divided through the Ural Mountains there. Most of the population of Russia is to the west of the Ural Mountains, St. Petersburg, Moscow, the like. That's the population hub. They used to be very, very pro-West. A lot of them grew up speaking French because the Tsarist Russians were very pro-French. We should be able to bring them to the West. That was the thinking. But actually, over time, it became very clear the Russians believe that they themselves are a dominant power. They're actually a third world country, if we're honest about it. The Russians are a pretty third world country. They're developing. They're not a developed economy. But they think of themselves as a superpower because the Soviet Union was. Tsarist Russia thought of itself as dominant. Catherine the Great, Peter the Great, when he was Tsar, believed very heavily in working with the Europeans. Catherine the Great decided to assert Russian dominance in a Russian sphere of influence, invaded and took over Crimea from the Ottoman Empire, wanted to show the world that the Russians were unique. She abandoned speaking European languages, German and French, and embraced the Russian language and the Russian people and Russian culture, even though she wasn't Russian, and really helped establish the Russian identity as distinct from the Europeans and Asians. It was a very distinctive culture, and that is embedded within the culture of Russia today. They do not want to be a Western power. They want to be an independent power. So Russian jets performed a low pass over a Russian oil platform in the Baltic Sea, violating a safety zone a short time ago. This morning, they flew within 7 miles of the Estonian capital. They're clearly putting pressure on NATO and the European allies to see exactly how we will respond. Essentially, what they're trying to do is provoke us to fire the first shot. Things are heating up greatly there with Russian provocation. Now, interestingly enough, the Russians also don't like the Chinese. Just as the Russians have a history going back to Catherine the Great of wanting to assert their dominance and independence from Europe and be their own thing, they also have a history during the Soviet era of skirmishes with the Chinese along the Chinese border, and they believe themselves to be the dominant race of people, and it is an ethnic racial issue. The Chinese believe themselves to be dominant to the Russians. They don't actually have a natural fit together. They don't actually have a natural alliance. It's an alliance that exists to combat the American-led world order. But there are tensions within that relationship that we can exploit over time. I do think the president, though, at this point needs to realize the U.S. needs to lead. What a lot of the thinking within the Trump administration has been is that we don't have the money or the resources to do it anymore. So let's do what Great Britain did as its empire started to crumble. We play all sides. We have a sphere of influence that is the Western Hemisphere. We build up our resources in the Western Hemisphere, protect ourselves, and then play off of everybody else. The problem is that begins to collapse the Western world order, and we've gotten so much financial benefit from the Western world order, it actually puts us in financial risk to have the collapse of the Western world order. Why? Because currency is exchanged in dollars. All financial transactions are transacted through an American banking system. U.S. trade gets better deals and better interest rates than everyone else in the world because we lead the world order. All that goes away if this becomes a much more multilateral world than an American-led Western world order. It actually does drive up your costs. To the extent there are people who fantasize about an isolationist America and a retreat from the world stage, they have the benefit of everyone in the country not understanding what it was like before the United States led the world. The oldest Americans fought in World War II, where at that time we were beginning to assert our dominance. There is not really an American alive today who understands what the world was like before American dominance. So those who want to retreat from the world can play to a hypothetical that pretends we still get the luxuries of the world at the cost we're getting them, which isn't actually so. If you understand anything about economics, we have to lead the world to get the benefits we're getting. And the Russians and the Chinese together want to end that American dominance. Trevor, you're going to be the next caller today on the Eric Erickson Show. How are you?
Hey, Eric. This is Trevor. Thank you for letting me be on the call. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Hey, I just, I was telling your screener that I think this is purely a business decision by ABC that the primary viewers that they're looking for is 18 to 49. And Kimmel's ratings, just a quick bit of research, Kimmel's ratings have gone down 25% in that demographic, right? Trump, his polling leading up to the election went up 10 to 15% over Biden 4 years earlier in that same group. I think that ABC realizes that that demographic is tired of being called a fascist, tired of being blamed for so many things, and they just made a phone call. I think it's that simple.
Oh, look, I mean, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the advertisers were calling before Brendan Carr at the FCC said anything. And it's notable. And, to your point, so being in this media business now, the 18 to 47, 45-year-old demographic or so, the young people, the advertisers love them. The sweet spot for advertisers is 25 to 54. And in the 25 to 54 market, Kimmel's ratings are down over 40% since the beginning of the year. And a business can't evaluate the value of ads at a reasonable rate when you're spending $40-50 million a year on Kimmel's program. Your local advertisers are struggling to sell local advertising during that block, both because of terms and ratings and audience alienation. Your national show is now struggling to have a good value for the advertising because your ratings are down so much in the key advertiser demo. Yeah, I mean, Kimmel brought this on himself. That's why I agree with Ted Cruz's statement that it looks bad what Brendan Carr did, but also Brendan Carr should have said nothing and this still would have happened. But because he said something, the left gets to avoid it, make themselves look like the victim here and say it was the Trump administration. It was Trump administration. No, it wasn't. It was Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel blew up his own ratings. Jimmy Kimmel decided to turn his program into a left-wing mouthpiece, a progressive propaganda hour that used Democratic talking points to shape his show. He had on Democratic politicians, Democratic candidates, Democratic causes. The Republicans and conservatives and Christians were the butt of all of his jokes. He did it to himself. It's the same situation with Stephen Colbert. They've stopped complaining and trying to blame the Trump administration for that because even the people within CBS who hated Donald Trump came out and said this had nothing to do with Trump. We were losing money on the program. And Colbert couldn't cut back costs enough to keep the show going. Same thing with Jimmy Kimmel. It was only a matter of time. Now, my hope is that neither CBS nor ABC abandon the late-night product. I don't think they should. What I think they should try to do is find a host who is more open to skewing both sides. I don't mind jokes about the right. I think Trump is the great punchline for a lot of jokes. But so too are the Democrats. So too is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And also, there's a lot of non-political humor out there you can talk about on late night. Bring in a Shane Gillis. Bring in a Joe Rogan. Replace Jimmy Kimmel with his friend Adam Carolla. Find someone who can relate to more Americans than what Jimmy Kimmel could relate to. Kimmel stopped relating to the country. The man who used to put large-breasted women on trampolines and guzzle beer on TV decided to become a woke progressive, humorless scold whose entire staff was so progressive, he did one bit one time on the text messages his staff did about how hot Luigi Mangione was, and they wanted to be on the jury so they could find him not guilty of killing the insurance CEO. That's his whole staff was hyper-progressive. Led him down this rabbit hole, and it cost him his job. Brandon Carr had nothing to do with it, but because he spoke, it allows the left to claim that he did, which gives them the opportunity to not have to account for what the Kimmel Show became.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
150 in the Coolray Carrier WSP 24-hour traffic center temporarily all lanes held up over on the west side. I-20 eastbound at 285 trying to clear a crash right at the beginning of the exit ramp to 285, so delays still continue to build back to Thornton Road. Slow through the construction zones on 316 eastbound at Cedars Road, and also road work causing big delays into Kennesaw. Right lane knocked out 75 north at Barrett Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Whole Foods Market. Save 20% on bone-in beef short ribs with Prime through September 23rd. As always, no antibiotics ever while supplies last. Shop in store or online. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
This is Scott Slade, and nothing takes the place of time when it comes to spotting problems with your health, especially cancer. The earlier the better. That's where virtual imaging comes in. Virtual imaging's LDCT body scan can be invaluable, giving you more time for you and your loved ones to take charge of your health. They can detect tumors as early as precancerous virtually anywhere in your body, and aneurysms you may not even know are there. Due to overwhelming demand for a limited time, their $995 core body scan offer has been extended. It's a $2,495 value. Early detection saves lives, and now it's more affordable than ever. Virtual Imaging has gotten such great response to this offer that they've opened up more times in both offices, but appointments will fill up fast, so don't wait. Some minimum requirements may apply. Early detection is your best protection. To schedule your virtual imaging $995 core body scan, call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Or make an appointment by visiting their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
The foods we eat can be downright bad for our health. This is Sue from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minute. I have a degree in food science, and for more than 30 years, I've been teaching the truth about real bread. Not the stuff you buy at the store. I'm talking real bread made with freshly milled flour. When you buy bread from the store, take a look at the ingredients. Enriched flour means that the nutritious bran and germ has been removed to improve the shelf life. Then a few B vitamins and iron are added back to replace the multitude of nutrients lost. That's not enrichment in my book. And today, that label may even read contains bioengineered food ingredients. Food should never be bioengineered. At Bread Beckers in Woodstock, we can teach you how to make real bread loaded with fiber and nutrients. A delicious, healthy, affordable solution that can improve your health and change your life. Visit breadbeckers.com or our Bread Beckers store in Woodstock.
Worried about market losses? If headlines are keeping you up at night, it's time to take control. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and I know you've worked hard to save. But in times like these, what if can turn into what now? If you're planning to retire or are in retirement, you need a strategy that helps protect your future. At Trajan Wealth, you can capture market gains, protect your account from losses, and guarantee income for life. Right now, you could receive a bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10% for retirement income. You heard me right. An upfront bonus of up to 30% or annual growth of up to 10%, all guaranteed to boost your lifetime income in retirement. Don't leave your future to chance. Plan with confidence. Call 404-390-4000. That's 404-390-4000.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company, DBA, in most states as Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
If you have the WSB radio app,
If you have the WSB
All
app,
the notifications you
if
need.
you have the WSB app,
all the local and breaking news alerts you need,
Breaking news in Cobb County.
all in one place.
We'll send out an alert on the WSB
The
app.
95.5 WSB app.
Download it from your app store today. The 4 Things You Need to Know podcast, giving you the 4 things to pay attention to after the show. Available on YouTube and your favorite podcast app, or by texting Eric to 33777.
Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here, coming to you from Dayton, Ohio. The phone number is 877-973-7425 as I continue meeting my different affiliates out there, traveling around the country. I promise those of you in listening on WHIO, I'll get back for an event. I got invited to do an event, private event over in Columbus with some of the political leaders and others. No details to be announced. And said, sure, I can come up. I haven't been up to WHIO, hadn't been to Dayton before, wanted to see it. So flew in, get to see it, do my show, hop in the car, drive the hour or so over to where I'm going for the evening, and should be a great event. But that means I don't have time to go down to see the ice cream dairy place that I wanted to go to, or go to Springfield and see the Haitians or anything like that. So I promise I will come back. We do have other news to get to, although I'm continuing to watch the situation with the Russian fighter jets in the Baltic now. They have now done a low, close pass over the capital of Estonia and a very low pass over a Polish oil rig in the North Sea. Inside a safety zone they're not supposed to get into. The Russian pilots are having a moment today, intimidating the Europeans, seeing if they can provoke the Europeans. So keeping my eye on that. Also, what's happening in Nepal, too, and what's happening with CBS. There is an absolute, you think the Kimmel stuff is bad. It's starting to dawn on journalists that CBS News is about to be in upheaval as Bari Weiss exerts editorial control. They're really not happy about the fact that the progressive control of CBS News and potentially now CNN is going away. In fact, a lot of CNN employees, I can guess who some of them are beginning to badmouth Paramount as it looks to buy the media properties of Warner Brothers, including CNN. Going to be very interesting to see how this continues to develop. When we come back, I'll take more of your phone calls as well. 877-973-7425. Don't forget, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Subscribe to the show notes, the podcast, and the like. Right now, I got to tell you about Americans for Prosperity, because they are the largest leading grassroots group in the country. They happen to be conservative, and right now they would love for you to join them at AFPvolunteer.com. But what they really want is for all of us to commit to taking a step for freedom. They're trying to get 250,000 steps for freedom. It's a challenge they've got going on right now, where they want 250,000 Americans to take one step for freedom in their own community, your community, my community, one step for freedom. 250,000 of us do it, recommit ourselves to the founder's vision of the country. We will have meaningfully improved the country. All you have to do is go to AFPvolunteer.com to sign up and find out more. You can get involved with the organization as well. They advance common sense conservative reforms around the country at the local, state, and federal level. They get you involved and plugged into a community of like-minded conservatives to talk to your local government, your city council, your state legislature, even Congress, about advancing great legislation like school choice, deregulation for small businesses, and more. Go to AFPvolunteer.com today and sign up.
Hey, I'm Chris Chandler. When you join us Monday starting at 5 for Atlanta's Morning News, we'll get you ready for the week ahead with our exclusive 5-day forecast and how Clark Howard says most people who manage to do it actually get rich on WSB.
That nagging joint pain, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes it's from years of hard work. Sometimes it's an old injury that just never healed right. Either way, it's been calling the shots in your life for too long. But that stops right now. I'm Mark Airman. QC Kinetics is here to flip that script. They use regenerative medicine, advanced cellular treatments that help your body heal and restore the damage in your joints, not cover it up, not cut it out, actually helping heal and restore. And the results, long-term, lasting relief. QC Kinetics, no surgery, no drugs, no long recovery, just a smarter, natural way to get your freedom back. Bring your MRIs, your X-rays, and they'll make sure you're a good candidate. Your first consultation, it's free, friends, so there's no reason to wait. Call QC Kinetics, 770-285-8026. That's 770-285-8026. Decatur, Lawrenceville, Sandy Springs, Marietta, Stockbridge, and Douglasville. Appointments available on Saturday. 770-285-8026.
News, weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story as the CDC advisory panel considers changing vaccine recommendations. Former employees rally outside the CDC campus in Chamblee today. Dr. Barbara Marston says she's concerned about the changing recommendations and the impact on families.
We're worried that those processes, which have been trusted and effective for years, are being disrupted in ways that will end up hurting Americans' health.
Others say they fear politics is playing a role in the decision making. The advisory panel meeting continues at this hour. After putting off a vote on recommendations for hepatitis B earlier, they're now considering the COVID vaccine. The AMA's Dr. Sandra Freihofer from Atlanta says the decisions are really hitting home for her.
I have 2 grandbabies on the way. Both are due in November. And will these little babies be able to get COVID protection from maternal vaccination? Will they be able to get their COVID vaccines when they're 6 months old?
She's asking the panel to continue to recommend the COVID vaccine for pregnant women. It is 86 degrees in Atlanta, trending hotter today. What are the rain chances for the weekend? Meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. A 1-year-old boy is shot in South Fulton.
The South Fulton Police Department is investigating a shooting involving an infant.
Police detained 2 people after the shooting at a South Fulton apartment complex.
At approximately 3 a.m., officers responded to a report of a gunshot wound involving an infant at the Gardens at Camp Creek apartment.
Police spokesperson Tori Cooper says the child is now at Arthur Blank Children's Hospital for treatment. It's not clear what, if any, charges may be filed. A step closer to a potential government shutdown as the Senate today rejects a stopgap measure to fund the government through November 21st. It comes after the House approved legislation earlier today. The government now faces a shutdown deadline on October 1st. It is the first of 3 days of music as the Shaky Knees Festival finds a new home in Midtown Atlanta this year.
The party is on as the festival shifts to Piedmont Park. Shaky Knees had been staged at various sites since its beginning in 2013. Thousands of people are going to be enjoying acts ranging from legacy groups like Public Enemy, Devo, and Weird Al Yankovic to more recent acts like Vampire Weekend, the Deftones, and the Black Keys. 4 stages of music over 3 days, but if you're coming out, MARTA and rideshare services are your best bet. No on-site parking is available. Saturday is sold out, but one-day tickets for tonight and Sunday still remain. Graham Carroll, 95.5 WSB.
Gates open today at 4 o'clock. It's now 2:02. This news sponsored by Bread Becker's. Up next, live team coverage of traffic and weather.
If you've ever organized your closet only to have it look like a bomb went off in there 1 month later, then it's time to call Artisan Custom Closets. Dave Baker here with a custom spacious closet from Artisan. You'll never have to deal with all that clutter again. ArtisanCustomClosets.com.
This is Andy Harris, president at Coosa Valley Credit Union, where we believe in the power of human connection. When you call us, you're not greeted by a machine, but by a real person who's here to listen and assist you. Coosa Valley Credit Union. We're local, we're kind, and we're here for you.
1-877 Cars for Kids. K-A-R-S Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now, 1-877-CARS-FOR-KIDS.
Donate your car today.
Did
you know you can donate real estate too?
Selling and buying a home doesn't have to be a juggling act. With Orchard, you get cash up front to buy your next place, then more cash when your old home sells. Start with a free home valuation at Orchard.com. That's Orchard.com.
Hey everyone, it's your buddy Shelly Winter here. Join me this Saturday at noon for the Car Guys with Kevin Deutsch from Butler Lexus of South Atlanta. Buy or lease, fix or sell, everything you want to know about cars, we will cover Saturday noon to 1 right here on 95.5 WSB.
You've thought about assisted living for your parents, but maybe the right answer is renovating your home and having mom or dad move in. I'm Richard, Chief Architect at Sketch House, where we create custom architectural drawings for homeowners looking to remodel. Why get drawings first? You'll know what's possible. You'll be able to get pricing and compare builders apples to apples, and builders love drawings. You'll get bumped to the top of their list with drawings in hand. Let Sketch House help you make a decision about your aging parents at a fixed price. Visit sketchhouse.com. That's sketch, HAUS.com.
It's happening, guys. Your hair's thinning, the crown's disappearing. Hair loss might have you feeling you've lost your identity. It's Mark Aram here. Thankfully, there's Advanced Hair Simple One-Day Treatment. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's your own natural hair that begins regrowing the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. I've seen Advanced Hair's incredible results with my own eyes. Get your free consultation, $250 off, and 250 free hair grafts. Call 470-660-HAIR or advancedhair.com.
It is 2:05, time for live team coverage of traffic and weather. In the 24-hour traffic center this Friday afternoon, it's Ashley Frasca.
Hey there, Bill. Crash lingers, but it's in the clearing stages. I-20 eastbound at 285 over on the west side. Heavy brake lights begin back at Thornton Road. Slow the whole way from Delk Road, headed 75 north to Kennesaw. That work zone in the right lane at Barrett Parkway. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Partly cloudy skies through this afternoon, trending about 5 degrees above average with a high near 90. Lows tonight in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with an isolated pop-up storm, high 91. Sunday, partly cloudy, high 88.
Right now, 86 in Tucker, 88 in Fairburn, 87 in Canton. More news at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
It's the WSB 5K a day bonus blitz. This hour's keyword is perks. P-E-R-K-S. Go to the WSB radio app or WSBradio.com/cash for your chance to win. Again, that keyword is perks. Join me live at 3 for the Von Hessler Doctrine, and I'll have your next keyword and chance to win at 5 p.m.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States, broadcasting today from my affiliate WHIO in Dayton, Ohio. As we continue a tour of affiliates around the country, there is breaking news happening. The Trump administration has now asked the Supreme Court to allow it to limit sex designations on passports. Now, this is an important issue here because I want to read you this from NBC News, not exactly a conservative organization. Trump administration asks Supreme Court to allow it to limit sex designations on passports. The court filing asked the High Court to block an injunction that allows applicants to self-select the sex designation on their passport. The Trump administration has asked the Supreme Court to allow it to enforce a policy that would restrict sex designations on passports to male and female based on sex assigned at birth. The President and State Department are seeking to reverse a policy introduced by the Biden administration in 2021 that allowed transgender and non-binary people to self-select their gender or put X as an alternative. A lower court issued an injunction earlier this year allowing the policy to continue. The new Trump policy is eminently lawful. Solicitor General D. John Sowers said in a new filing, the Constitution does not prohibit the government from defining sex in terms of an individual's biological classification. The injunction has no basis in law or fact, the filing says. What's so notable here is even NBC News, which is a liberal publication, uses the word sex, not gender. And remember, what the left for the longest time said is that sex was what you were born as and gender was what you identify as. There is a perfectly permissible, logical reason for requiring sex assigned at birth to be on your passport. Can anybody think of it? It should be real obvious. Even to those of you who are transgender listening, and I know you're listening because I get your hate mail. There's a really obvious reason. You travel overseas, you have a medical incident, you are unresponsive. The medical community needs to know what they're dealing with, male or female, biologically. Why? Because the dosing of medicines for men and women are very often different. Your medical situation doesn't care what you think you are. Your medical situation cares what you biologically are. I gotta tell you, so I was at a restaurant yesterday afternoon. Went out. Not gonna give details of the restaurant, not for my security or anything else, just because I don't want to target a specific employee or something. But there was an employee working the cash register at the restaurant where I was, and I thought, that's odd. This girl needs like shave, and then realized, oh, it is not a girl. Working very hard to be girl, working very hard to look female. Long hair, long fingernails, mascara. The wearing of certain clothes. I did a pretty good job until you realize, no, that's an Adam's apple, and that's facial hair. No disrespect intended, just saying, if that individual were to go into the hospital, certain types of medicine, the dosing would be different between male and female. That individual goes to the hospital. How are they going to know without, some inspection of this person might have prostate cancer? Women don't get it. Testicular cancer, women don't get it. Ovarian cancer, men don't get it. Uterine cancer, men don't get it. How do you know? How can you tell? Again, there's a real logical reason to have the sex, not gender, designation on the American passport. Even the Obama administration recognized that the sex designation on the passport was useful if you traveled abroad and something happened to you. It was only the Biden administration bowing down to woke progressive activists to try to get their support for re-election and keep them shut up about his mental decline that pushed the Biden administration to make that change. There would have not been a change otherwise, but for Biden's mental condition and the need to try to consolidate progressives around him in that election. According to the administration, quote, indeed, just as it would not be discrimination based on national origin to define a person's national origin as the person's birth country rather than the country with which the person self-identifies, so too is it not discrimination based on sex to define a person's sex as the person's immutable biological classification rather than the sex with which the person self-identifies. They got a real consistent, necessary reason for the biological sex definition. But notice the games being played by the left as well. Sex was what you were born as, gender's what you decided to choose, and now they're saying that no, sex and gender are the same thing, and it's what I choose as. They've just moved the goalposts yet again in the argument. My suspicion is the Trump administration is going to win the argument because there actually is a real logical reason for sex designation. I was talking to a doctor the other day about this. So, back up. Got a friend of mine, works in a labor and delivery ward of a hospital, who received a memo about a patient who is basically camping out long-term in the labor and delivery ward because of a medical problem with her child not yet born, but she identifies as a he and is filing complaints against anyone in the hospital who refers to her as a she, even though she is pregnant. She wants to be referred to with masculine pronouns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. First of all, men can't get pregnant. Secondly, dosings for medicines, things like that, It's just completely different between men and women. So I'm talking to a doctor the other day because I had mentioned this issue on air, and the doctor's a friend of mine who reached out, was talking about it, and said there have now been several instances in the medical practice he's involved with where individuals came in who were trans and nearly missed the diagnosis of their medical condition because they could not acknowledge that they were even born as man or woman, and therefore the nurses were looking for things that they didn't need to look for, and weren't looking for things they did need to look for because the person didn't fill out the biological sex form accurately. Like literally, the doctor's form is your biological sex. And the trans patients were putting in what they identify as for biological sex, not what they were born as. And he said he knew of several instances where they were treating the patient in ways they shouldn't have treated the patient and prescribing dosages for medicines they shouldn't have, and they're the ones that are going to be sued. It's a real medical issue. And so for your passport, when you're traveling abroad, if something happens to you, they kind of need to know. And also, y'all, come on. You know and I know. There is some trans person 30 feet above a runway, if you know what I mean, who has decided that they're going to go tour the Middle East. Can you imagine? I saw the other day that some transgender Palestinian immigrant is one of the Queers for Palestine leaders and fled the Middle East because of their lifestyle choices. They didn't want to be stoned to death, and yet they're out there championing the Palestinian cause. The very people who would stone them to death, the Israelis don't care. The Israelis have a giant pride party every year for Pride Month. They certainly don't care, and yet this person was out for the Palestinians. Can you imagine the trans person who shows up overseas trying to tour the Middle East and goes into the bathroom not of their biological sex and is exposed? That person could get the death penalty. At least they'll be remembered as a victim of some sort. This mental illness issue continues to fester. Festering so much it's turning violent. We've now had multiple transgender shooters at schools. And Charlie Kirk's assassin went down some deeply sexually deviant rabbit holes, including the furry community. Yeah, the furries. So, my apologies if there are children in your car. I will be as appropriate as I can here because you probably got kids this afternoon looking at the clock where you are. You might have kids, so it's I'll be okay here. There are people who one of their things they like, it excites them in various ways that are pleasurable to them, is to dress up as animals. In some cases, they, in certain communities, some people in certain communities of men like to be considered dogs on their arms and legs for various activities, dressing up as such. There's a real big thing about furries with tails, and they do deviant things with various things for tails. And Tyler Robinson, the assassin, was apparently, he and his partner, it seems, were deep into one of those communities. Just all sorts of deviant things. There's the story out the other week. I thought it was made up. It appeared to be real. It was reported, one story was mauled to death, but he wasn't. He survived. A man who identified as a wolf deciding to move in with a pack of wolves who promptly decided to eat him. I don't think, if I read the right report, he was mauled to death. True story. It was in the show notes a few weeks ago. Identified as a wolf, decided to move in with the wolf pack. Well, definitely not the alpha or the beta, even. Not even the delta. In the pack, and it ended poorly. We live in an age where robust, not individualism, but individuality is the height of society, and people want our passports to conform to that radical individuality, our radical need to self-express ourselves, absolute narcissism. It is pathological narcissism is what it is. And the Trump administration, I think very wisely, is putting their foot down and saying no. Now, they may be putting their foot down because they don't particularly care for the trans community. In fact, there's a report out today. The FBI is looking at classifying the transgender community as violent. There are certainly violent members of the trans community. I don't necessarily know that the whole community needs to be labeled as violent. The Trump administration appears to be headed that way to some degree based on press reports. So again, don't hold your breath. They probably got it wrong. But nonetheless, regardless of their motivation, there's a legitimate need to accurately classify people based on biology on passports for people who are traveling abroad. The fact that the ACLU and the trans community insists otherwise doesn't mean they're right. It just means that they want to break with reality that they don't need to get when it comes to their passports.
Follow Eric on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Search EW Erickson.
Hey, it's your
220 in the Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Sandy Springs authorities protecting a stall in the right lanes of 285 westbound at New North Side Powers Ferry. Earlier crash cleared 75 south before Howell Mill, 75 north. A mess up through Marietta beginning around Delk Road. Construction in the right lane at Barrett Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Peach Pass. Life doesn't slow down, and neither can you with Peach Pass. Save time, cruise by traffic, and use your Peach Pass in 20 states, including Georgia. Visit peachpass.com. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
It's the WSB 5K a day bonus blitz. This hour's keyword is perks. P-E-R-K-S. Go to the WSB radio app or WSBradio.com/cash for your chance to win. Again, that keyword is perks. Join me live at 3 for the Von Hessler Doctrine, and I'll have your next keyword and chance to win at 5 p.m.
For many of you, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown's disappearing, and maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I got good news. It's Advanced Hair's incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts regrowing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's Mark Aaron back with you. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what about regrowing your hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to their world-class physicians, it's not maybe your hair will regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, and I've seen their results, friends. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts, call 470-660-HAIR. That's 470-660-HAIR or advancedhair.com.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, every week on the show, we offer folks something we call the Portfolio X-Ray. I was hoping you could walk us through that process and tell us why the information it uncovers is so powerful.
Yeah, so the reason we love doing the Portfolio X-Ray for you is we do that behind the scenes. Everybody's extremely busy. Nobody wants to waste time in traffic. If you call in, we will ask you for some information via the phone. Once you've given us that information, we go to work and we put all the hours in developing the report. And I commit this to you. The Portfolio X-Ray is eye-opening. At least 90+% of the time, we can find 2 or 3 golden nuggets in there that you were not aware of that we can either change in your current portfolio mix for you. It's called a 401k optimizer. Or if we manage the assets for you, we certainly can recommend how to diversify away from some of the troubling points that are exposed during the Portfolio X-Ray. Once we've got that, then we'll have you in for your initial consultation. We will present the Portfolio X-Ray to you and walk you through the high points of it. And that's a document that you get to take with you. It's like getting a financial physical. Mm-hmm. So how many of you avoided going to the doctor for the annual physical last year? You do the same thing with your financial life. You ignore it. You keep pumping money into your 401k. you hope that it's going well, and I can tell you that hope is not a good investment or financial planning strategy. You need to know. So if you want to know, call us.
The Portfolio X-ray is complimentary. Give Hoffman Financial Group a call to schedule yours today. 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Attention men, does ED and PE have you down? Well, great news. Choice Men's Health has the latest breakthrough treatments that can get you up and running. Meet the specialist who is dedicated to helping you perform better than ever in the bedroom.
Hi, I'm Dr. Katz, Chief Medical Director at Choice Men's Health. Our custom treatment plans have a 98% success rate at improving ED and PE on your very first visit, even if Viagra and Cialis have failed. Regardless of your age and medical history, we are here and dedicated to help you regain your love life.
Don't wait. Call Choice Men's Health now. We are so confident we can help. For a limited time, we're offering to cover your first treatment for free. Call 404-400-1170. Call now to claim your free treatment. 404-400-1170. Results guaranteed on your first visit or it's free. 404-400-1170. Choice Men's Health, the only choice for your health.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Joined us? No worries.
Check out the Eric Erickson Show 24/7 stream at ericerickson.com. Available for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
All righty, back to the phones we go. Amy, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show. Amy, how are you?
I'm well, Eric. How are you?
I'm great. What's going on?
So I'm flabbergasted. I think Trump and his people are really smart, but how could they be so stupid as to allow China to control the algorithm? That's what it's all about anyway. So it's just beyond my...
So we're trying to get confirmation if that's the case, because last week China said they would agree to a sale, but the algorithm would still have to be the Chinese algorithm. Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, disputed that would be the case, but the American side now is very quiet as to who will control the algorithm. And that does, frankly, their quiet has me concerned. And again, I got to talk to you about this. If you're a parent, if you have TikTok, if you like TikTok, I don't care about you, and you think nobody cares about you when it comes to your TikTok, and I get it. But what you don't see more likely than not is what's being fed to your children on TikTok. If you get a new account on TikTok, and when I say new account, go get yourself a burner phone. You can do the experiment for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it. Go buy a burner phone, pay cash so it can't be traced to your credit card. Set it up with no identifiers for you. You can't use your social security number, your home address, things like that. Keep it off your Wi-Fi and keep it away from your current phone so that it's outside the Bluetooth signal. And go download TikTok, making sure it's untraceable, your new account, all that, tied to your credit cards, get new accounts, stuff like that. And just start TikTok and see what happens. If you put in that you're under the age of 25, you're more likely than not going to have a recommended algorithm that shows you a lot of pro-Palestinian stuff, a lot of anti-American stuff, a lot of pro-transgender stuff. Over time, the algorithm will begin to shape you. You don't shape the algorithm shapes you, and it's by design. It is a propaganda tool of the Chinese Communist Party. That's why the President of the United States has had to negotiate directly with the President of China over TikTok, because the Chinese Communist Party controls it. And they want their TikTok algorithm preserved and used by Americans because they don't care about you. They care about your children. They care about Chinese children who have been adopted by Americans. And they care about infiltrating our national security. They're deeply interested in using TikTok. They've done it before, spied on individuals and journalists through TikTok. It's a dangerous app. Now, a great device is the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. In fact, so I did an event last night, Bourbon and Butts, in Atlanta for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. And one of the guys was talking about his Eden Pure Thunderstorm and how it works. In fact, one of them, a different guy, suggested we should have had cigars at the event, and we just could have fired up the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, and nobody would have known. Fair point. It wipes out smoke odors, litter box odors, dirty diaper odors, fried in the kitchen odors, you name it. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. At EdenPureDeals.com. You get 3 of them. You save $200. You get them for less than $200. And they also clean the air of pollen and dust and pet dander. They wipe out 99.9% of bacteria and viruses, and they just work. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. And you can clean up all of the odors. In fact, I've used it in rental cars. I've used it in hotel rooms. I used it on my back porch the other day. You can plug it up with a USB cord or right into the wall, and it wipes out odors. EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3. When we come back, your phone calls, and also why I decided it was time for my kid to watch Schindler's List.
Start your workday with Mark Aram.
Is there anything scarier than losing your retirement account?
Mark Aram.
But there's been a ton of development in Walton County.
Getting you through your morning.
60,000 pounds of cocaine. That is a lot.
Mark Aram.
Monday at 9 a.m.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story with the CDC's advisory panel on vaccines meeting inside. 24 former CDC employees rally outside the agency in Chamblee today to protest changing vaccine recommendations. Katrina Kretzinger says she's concerned about the impact on families.
The lack of continuity, the lack of procedure which has been followed in prior decision making just became glaringly obvious.
Others say they fear that politics is playing a role in the decision making. Happening now, Atlanta Fire and Rescue on the scene of a small laboratory explosion at 901 Atlantic Drive. There are no hazmat concerns right now, and one patient has been taken to Grady Hospital. The House approves a resolution honoring the late Charlie Kirk. Speaker Mike Johnson reads from the resolution.
The House of Representatives calls upon all Americans to reject political violence, recommit to respectful debate, uphold American values, and respect one another as fellow Americans.
The vote 310 to 58 with 95 Democrats supporting the resolution. Shoppers may not spend as much this holiday season. CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports on the spending outlook.
PricewaterhouseCoopers surveyed 4,000 consumers in 4 different generations and predicts Americans will spend an average of $1,552 a person on gifts, travel, food, and entertainment. That's down 5% from last year, and the biggest drop since the start of the pandemic.
It's now 2:31. This news sponsored by FGA Roofing.
Scott Slade here to talk to you about your health, and I think it's real important to talk about what is most likely to kill you. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans, and the older we get, the more prevalent it is. But you can reduce your risk. Eat right, don't smoke, exercise, and be informed about what's going on in your own body. Like lots of potentially serious health problems, if you catch heart disease early, you vastly increase your chances of living a longer life. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. Virtual imaging scans take less than 10 minutes and screen with 98% accuracy for heart disease. Other scans, including brain and full body, are available too. Virtual imaging is locally owned and operated in Atlanta for over 15 years, so they can make you this terrific offer. A complimentary heart scan for you and your spouse with a few minimum requirements. So don't put this off. I've done it. Call Virtual Imaging today for your free heart scan. 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-7226. Or visit their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
Hi, I'm Dustin, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. I know finding a dream engagement ring can be overwhelming, but don't worry, we got you. As director of diamond sourcing, it's my job to make sure every single diamond at Shane Company is truly the best of the best. Our team travels the world to see diamonds up close, in person. We handpick each one for its unique fire, brilliance, and scintillation. Diamond buying is an art. Of course, we look at cut, color, clarity, and carat, known as the 4 C's, but that's not all. We also look at how each diamond looks on a hand, where it will be worn, how it makes you feel, and if it's worthy of a Shane Company customer. That type of expertise only comes from working for a company that's been a family business since 1929. We also think about your budget. We only pick the best in each grade in all shapes and sizes. Your diamond is guaranteed to be the most beautiful because a friend wants you to pick from only the best. Drop by your store or shaneco.com and see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
JIC, Flat Face Seal, BSP, and DIN. If you know what these are, then listen up.
I'm Victoria Holloway. We can replicate hose assembly on site with Mobile Hydraulics of Georgia.
Call 770-HYD-HOSE or try our website, HYDHOSE.com.
At Butler Lexus of South Atlanta, buying a car is more than a transaction. It's a 5-star experience because they value you. Enjoy personalized offers and luxury perks, all designed with you in mind. Visit ButlerLexusSouthAtlanta.com or call 800-NEW-LEXUS today. Butler Lexus South Atlanta, the standard of amazing.
At 2:34, Ashley Frasca in the traffic center.
Delays through Marietta up from Delk Road on 75 northbound. Barrels out in the right lane with ongoing construction at Barrett Parkway. Stall cleared on the north side perimeter. Things should improve 285 west, leaving Sandy Springs. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
This is WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. A mix of sun and clouds today, trending hotter with a high near 90. Lows tonight in the mid-60s. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, an isolated pop-up shower possible, high 91. Sunday, partly cloudy skies, high 88.
And right now, Storm Tracker radar is all clear across the metro area. It is 87 degrees now in Ackworth, 88 in Riverdale, and 88 in Duluth. More news at 3 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
The Eric Erickson Show, tackling politics and culture with clarity.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very important announcement to make. My iPhone has been delivered to my house, and I'm out of town. Le sigh. My Apple AirPod Pros 3 been delivered to my house. They're there, and I'm not. I hope my family loves them while I'm gone. Okay, phone number 877-973-7425. So every year in Atlanta, and I'm going to do one down at WOKV, down in Jacksonville, Florida in December, I have a big collection of bourbon over the years. People have gifted me lots of bottles. I've acquired bottles, and I have over the last couple of years gotten a lot of gifts of bourbons, and I deliberately made a decision this year that instead of opening these bourbons that I knew nothing about, I was going to save them for the event this year. Normally, I bring a collection of things. So there's my favorite brand of bourbon, if you're wondering, is called Calumet. They make a 10-year and a 15-year that are just exquisite. I love them. They make an 8-year that I'm not a big fan of. The 16 years, a little bit too stout for me. My regular go-to bourbon is called Basil Hayden. It's made by Jim Beam, and you can find it anywhere, and it's just delightful, and they have a toasted version that's even better, more reasonable price points than the Calumet, but those are, and so I tend to bring those, and sometimes we'll bring the whole range of the Basil Haydens and the Calumets, but this year I was like, I'm going to bring these random ones. Well, then I do a Q&A. So we sit around. My buddy Ryan Lane, who is one of the best barbecuers on the planet, and he makes these incredible rubs. Lane's Barbecue, look them up. Their signature blend, I use that seasoning on everything. Onion rings, steaks, pulled pork, brisket. And they make a brisket rub, but I love Lane's Barbecue, the signature rub. Incredible stuff. They're open in a restaurant, by the way. If you live near Winder, Georgia, they're open in a restaurant. They're incredible food. He makes a banana pudding that doesn't have bananas in it. It's the best banana pudding you'll ever eat. So they had barbecue, had the great banana-less pudding, and they had the bourbon, and then we sat around, we did a Q&A. One of the guys there was asking about anti-Semitism, what we do with it. And so I told the story, and I'm not going to say them on air. We were among friends last night, and I apologize in advance if any of them were offended, but I told them 2 jokes my son had told me that really kind of shocked me. And he and I, we had one was a Holocaust joke, and he's 16. He makes these sorts of jokes, but he's wanted to see Schindler's List for a while. He hasn't really wanted to see it for the content. He's wanted to see it for the cinematography because my son really wants to be an architect. And at some point, it clicked with him that cinematography is architecture in a different form. building a scene, constructing the lighting for the scene, things like that. He's gotten very, very intrigued, not just by plot development, but just by the look of movies. And he wanted to see Schindler's List because it's not just a famous movie, but it's in black and white. It's Steven Spielberg. It's a modern movie that used old film techniques, so he really wanted to see it. And after this joke he told me, I'm like, you know, you need to really actually, the Holocaust needs to not be theory for you. It needs to in some way be reality that you've seen. If you've never seen the movie, I'm not going to recommend you see it, although you should. At the end of the movie, many of the victims who survived are seen laying roses on Oskar Schindler's grave. Schindler's List is the true story of Oskar Schindler, who rescued thousands of Jews from undoubted death, from concentration camps, from Auschwitz. And he was a hero. A man who was in it for money became passionate about saving the lives of the Jews. And so 2 weekends ago now, we watched Schindler's List. It had a profound effect on my son. So much so he hasn't made a one of those jokes since. Between that and APUSH, so he's in AP U.S. History, and they're studying the Civil War and what American chattel slavery was like, and it's had a profound change on him. With slavery, wondering how people who called themselves Christians could treat other people made in the image of God that way. With the Holocaust, because he sees among people in his generation some level of contempt growing for Jews and of the Holocaust. And there's a scene, and to this day, it is the scene, and it's not the rose. If you know what I'm talking about, if you've seen the movie, it's not the rose. The scene that stood out to him is the scene that stood out to me. And to this day, it's been since, I think, 1993, 94, when it came out in theaters. I had a college professor who wanted us all to go see it, and we saw it. I swore to never see the movie. It's like The Passion of the Christ. That's a movie you never want to see a second time. So my second time seeing it was a couple weeks ago. Since 1993, or whenever it was, 94, when it came out, the scene that has been stuck in my head the entire time, decades now, it's a single scene of a blonde-headed German girl screaming, "Goodbye, Jews, goodbye, Jews," with just hate on her face, screaming "Goodbye, Jews" to these people. How in the world could a girl, not even yet a teenager, have such profound hate for an entire race of people? That same scene stuck out to my son, who had the same question. And we got done with the movie. We actually had to break it apart. It was just too intense. We had to break it into two parts. We watched part of it on a Friday night and the rest of it on Saturday, before it got really intense. Like before they headed into the worker camps, we turned it off. We'll watch the rest tomorrow. And he finished that movie, and he turned to me and said, I wonder if I could get Mr. Johnston, who's the headmaster of their school, to make the senior class watch this movie, because I think they need to see it. Steven Spielberg obviously does not listen to this program. If he did, I would say, in addition to all the other incredible movies, I mean, Jaws, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, every famous movie he's done, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List. I have seen more people more profoundly affected by that movie than any movie I can possibly think of, including Passion of the Christ. And I kind of agree with my son that, like, at a time with growing anti-Semitism, we're at a time where it's a movie that probably does need to be watched by more people, because we're losing Holocaust survivors regularly. You know, we've lost a Holocaust survivor in Boulder, Colorado, because she was burned to death by an anti-Semitic protester who built a homemade flamethrower and set her on fire just a few months ago in Boulder, Colorado. It's like World War II veterans. We're losing World War II veterans at a astonishingly fast pace now. The last British paratrooper from World War II has died. Won't be long before there are any of them left. It won't be long before the Holocaust survivors. They will outlive the soldiers of World War II, because most of the Holocaust survivors that we have left today were children during the Holocaust who survived. And they don't have the memories that their parents had who survived, or the older generations that they had. Children process trauma differently from older people. They have some of the same stories, but not all the stories. So being able to have a movie like that documents it in gut-wrenching fashion. I mean, and I'm proud of my son too. We both of us have a very dark and demented sense of humor. I will tell you that there is no such thing as a too soon joke in our house. Bad things happen, there's probably going to be a joke said that day. Some people say that's awful. I say it's how the Ericksons process trauma. And oftentimes my son has very good jokes. And I just thought it was impactful to me to have, I mean, in theory, he understood anti-Semitism was bad. But having watched that movie, he now really understands why it's bad. And I see this co-opting of Charlie Kirk's legacy by people. You know what, the thing that's circulating right now online, now that Erica Kirk is in charge of Turning Point USA, there has been this allegation that Tyler Robinson, the assassin, was working on behalf of the Jews. And now Erica Kirk is in charge of Turning Point USA, and you're hearing people online or seeing people online say, well, Charlie and Erica met on a tour of Israel. Just asking questions. It's what they do. Just asking questions. You have this level of festering hate by people who have taken money from Qatar and people who haven't. But they don't like the United States' engagement in the world, and by not liking the U.S. engagement in the world, one of the ways they want to convince us to pull out of the rest of the world is to stop our alliance with Israel, because we do oftentimes have to engage to help the Israelis, and so by spreading anti-Semitism, they can turn people's hearts and minds against Israel, and therefore have us pull out of the Middle East altogether. It's a level of mendacity and depravity. And it's horseshoe theory at play. These people on the far right and people on the far left together spreading anti-Semitism, spreading hate for Israel, hate for Ukraine as well. The very far left hates Ukraine and likes Russia. So too, the outer extremity of the right hates Ukraine and loves Russia. They're almost the same people. It's progressives on both sides. I think the dividing line for many of them is life. Those on the right, they tend to agree with the left about almost everything except abortion. You take abortion out of the equation, and they're just progressives. And unfortunately, some of them have very large platforms on social media, and China helps them get into the algorithms of our youth. And our youth start hearing these people that they think are credible. They start saying very, very derogatory things about Jews, about Israel, about our relationship with the country, trying to persuade them that Israel's bad, the Jews are nefarious, our relationship with the Jews is because of Jewish control in the United States. And they're trying to get people to change their minds on Israel as a way to get people to convince the United States to disengage from the world. And one of the things they do is they downplay the Holocaust. They try to claim it was either not real or not as big a deal. By the way, it's not just the Jews. You know, there's an entire academic industry to claim that the Christian persecutions of the Roman Empire weren't actually as big a deal as Christians claim. There really are major academic works on how, okay, a few people were lit to light the streets of Rome at night, but it really wasn't as pervasive, and it depended on where you lived in the empire, and maybe it wasn't as much as it is. They were literally tying Christians up on the streets of Rome, pouring oil on them and setting them on fire to serve as the street lamps for Rome at night during the Roman Empire in the time of Nero. Christians literally lit the roads at night and served as the lampposts with their burning bodies. And yet these actors, it happened, but not a lot. And the same people are like, the Holocaust happened, but they kind of overstated. Don't forget about the gypsies. So, yeah, my answer to this guy last night was, I do think more and more people need to watch this movie and see the horror. But the other thing is, it's also why you don't need to watch desensitizing videos of violence. I abhor so many people who watched over and over the clip of Charlie Kirk being shot, or the Ukrainian lady on the train in Charlotte being stabbed to death, because it desensitizes you to it. It desensitizes you. And when you get desensitized to violence, it becomes a little more acceptable. And let's be real honest, we're desensitized at this point to school shootings. You know, the day Charlie Kirk was assassinated, there was a school shooting in Colorado. It was like buried on the 10th page of the newspaper, the 5th story on the nightly news. We're kind of desensitized to school shootings in this country. It's appalling. It's become a political issue as opposed to an issue of the fallen state of humanity. And watching those videos desensitizes you to it. And that's kind of one of my concerns. So you watch something like Schindler's List, you've become desensitized already to murder like that. The movie doesn't have the impact it would otherwise have as society becomes more cruel and violent. But I think right now we're not there yet. And that movie had a profound impact on my son and his worldview and on his consideration of what evil looks like in the world. And I'm so glad that movie was made by Steven Spielberg. It's not a movie I want to watch ever again. I've seen it now twice. I don't want to. Actually, I think I've seen it 3 times. I don't want to see it again. But it's a movie that documents evil and shows what was done to a people, and it's true and it's real and it's horrifying. And I think that as this anti-Semitism starts festering, it's canary in the coal mine. Every time anti-Semitism grows, bad things begin to happen. It's kind of a warning sign that something's off in society. And a great calibration would be to visibly remind teenagers in particular who are coming up in the world filled with all the anti-Semitism on social media that this really did happen to a group of people. It is real and it is awful, and we should, again, say never again.
You're at the end.
Now, having rearranged all my sound, let's see if I can push the magic button and go to commercial break.
You're at the intersection of politics, news, culture, and current events. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
251 in the Coolray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Watching a slow ride up from Locust Grove, 75 north. No crashes, just volume getting up to Jonesboro Road, exit 221. And it will be some better news getting out of Marietta into Kennesaw. They're wrapping up that road work in the right lane, 75 north at Parrott Parkway. Traffic brought to you by Peach Pass. Life doesn't slow down, and neither can you with Peach Pass. Save time, cruise by traffic, and use your Peach Pass in 20 states, including Georgia. Visit peachpass.com and keep moving. I'm Ashley Frasca, 95.5 WSB.
You worked hard for your 401k, but if you've left your job, your money might be sitting in the wrong hands. I'm Jeff Jr. with Trajan Wealth, and it's very possible that the 401k that you have had for years has hidden fees and limited investment choices. But if you're no longer with the company, that 401k may be at the mercy of your former employer. All of these things could be costing you thousands. Rolling over your 401k into an IRA can provide better investment options that align with your long-term goals. At Trajan Wealth, we're fiduciary advisors that are held to a higher standard with no hidden agenda and no hidden fees. Don't let your retirement dollars sit in an old plan, and don't roll it over to your new plan without consulting Trajan Wealth first. Call 404-390-4000. That's 404-390-4000.
Advisory services are offered through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Football season is back on Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. So don't miss any of the action this season with Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use my code ROAM and get $50 in bonus credit instantly in lineups when you play $5. That's code ROAM on Prize Picks to get $50 bonus credit instantly in lineups when you play $5. Win or lose, you'll get $50 bonus credit in lineups just for playing. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. You do have to be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk. When traffic hits,
traffic getting through in either direction.
The Triple Team Traffic Center has you covered.
Even the bridge over 75 is being held.
Your source for Atlanta's traffic.
Traffic out of Spaghetti Junction along 285 westbound, and a crash on Peachtree Boulevard 141 southbound before 285.
Brought to you by the Cool Ray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
All the information without the spin. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
I sure hope you guys are ready for the weekend. I am deeply, deeply ready for the weekend. Although, keep in mind, I will be getting up early on Sunday to spend time with C-SPAN and its colors, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on C-SPAN. And I think News Nation, Sunday afternoon, that's the Charlie Kirk funeral in Phoenix, Arizona, is Sunday. I was actually texting with Leland Vittert from News Nation earlier. He's already out there for it, doing coverage. I really, really hope that it is a respectful memorial and funeral and doesn't turn into one of those left-wing political rallies like they did for Paul Wellstone. Our side's got to be better than that. Be respectful and honor him, and share the gospel if you can on this live platform of television that where people are going to be carrying this live, because I suspect that's what he would have wanted. Now, let me tell you about Hillsdale College. They've got some great classes: philosophy and politics and history and English and chemistry and economics and mathematics and so much more. You go to erickforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, erickforhillsdale.com. You sign up with Hillsdale College, and you can take one of these classes for free and then go back and take another one, and you learn so much. Not only that, you learn a lot, but you do it for free. You get a certificate of completion, and It's with some of Hillsdale's best faculty. Every episode, so they're video lectures, they're 30-minute lectures. Depending on the class, determines the number of episodes. Some classes have 10 episodes, some 7, some 12 or more. But they're each 30 minutes. They're highly engaging, they're captivating, they're educational, and you're not going to get bored with it. All you have to do is go to Eric, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com, sign up with Hillsdale College today, get involved in getting smarter about a topic you care about. You can thank me later, and you will. You'll enjoy it. All right, you guys have a great weekend. I'll talk to you on Monday.
When the news matters to you.
The massive project at 285 and Georgia 400 has been a big improvement.
95.5 WSB has you covered.
The latest incident comes when a SWAT team is called after a suspect.
Your 24/7 news
They
source.
had no ties to a gang.
When you need the story, all you need to do is listen. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's breaking news station. WSB consumer expert Clark Howard.
There are con artists selling fake health insurance that are spreading like locusts, a plague across America. You know, we're all just shell-shocked how much health insurance costs, real health insurance. What we have to pay for it as an employer providing to our employees, or if you have to buy your own health insurance, how crazy expensive it is, then the deductibles you have and all the rest. And that's led to all these cons, even telemarketers calling small businesses, pitching health coverage to you. And you're thinking, wow, I'm going to save all this money. And then what happens? You end up with basically nothing because you got scammed and now you don't have real coverage anymore. Be careful what you're buying. I'm Clark Howard.
News, weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
At 3 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story while the CDC's vaccine advisory panel meets inside. Former CDC employees rally outside the agency's Chamblee campus today.
Under a banner that says, CDC protects us all, about 24 former agency employees hold signs urging the committee to focus on the science surrounding vaccine recommendations. Katrina Kretzinger says she's concerned about the process happening inside